Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very special WrestleMania weekend edition, part one of the Team Venom Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, Rory Bailey, joined by my wonderful and delicious co host, Connor Franks. How are you, man? He's gone silent.
Finally,
we
we're doing a fucking pod again.
haven't done one since January together.
I know, right? We still pretty sure the last one. We're taking a bit of a break for the new year.
Just,
Fucking quarter way
yeah.
through. Third
That's
of way
why.
through. Yeah,
That's why I've done so many. I don't know if you've seen. I've just been throwing old interviews and stuff on this, so there's at least something going out, and I was like, it's fine.
yeah, man.
But like, I think the one of the you can tell when wrestling's getting good because we sort of stopped doing podcasts. Do you know what I mean? Every
Yeah,
time, like when we're enjoying wrestling, it's like we'll chat to each other and we'll message each other about it, and we don't really like to overanalyze stuff because when we overanalyze stuff, that's when we start hating it.
yeah, because it strips the magic away. But I feel like we need to at least once in our lives, right? At
Yeah,
least once in this podcast space, we need to be. I want to be consistent. I want
yeah,
this to be the start because just even if it's just for 1 year,
yeah,
one wrestling calendar, mania to mania, yeah.
yeah. That'd be great.
Even if there's like weeks where we just bulk record and they can go out,
Yeah, yeah,
but just consistent wrestling bollocks for a
yeah.
year. And I think this could be a perfect time to bring back something we used to do
Okay.
for the prediction league.
Yeah. We used to
I
do that.
think
I forgot about
if
that.
we're
Yeah,
if we're doing mania to mania consistently,
yeah.
maybe, then
Hopefully.
yeah, then I feel like starting at this mania,
Yep.
finishing into the next mania. There's a prize for the winner at the end.
Okay.
And then yeah, it gives us some to keep note of.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll get right into it for this for the part one of this WrestleMania weekend podcast. And we're saying part one because this is going to cover NXT Stand and Deliver and the Hall of Fame, and we're going to
Yes.
hopefully like get through everything. But we our aim for these podcasts has always been around the half an hour mark, and I don't
But
think that's
also,
enough
if
time to do all of these things.
I was gonna say, but also if we were to just like megapod this shit, we
Yeah,
record multiple times because we take breaks and we're old, we have to piss, that kind of
that's
thing.
true.
Um, we could just smash them all together and literally release a megapod
I think we
to
do
come
both.
back.
We'll have part one out there. We'll have a megapod. It'll be beautiful.
Before we jump into it,
Yeah.
I want to put this out there mostly to you because we haven't spoke about this. I learned it last night at 3 a.m. while having a lactose intolerance poop. Hey
I
guys. Um, Cody Rhodes and Undertaker are in Fortnite.
saw. I
I,
know.
without a shadow of a doubt, the blood in my veins,
Yeah,
hate that fucking game. Okay,
I
I
know.
used to love it and I hate it, but
Yeah,
I will install that bastard. I
I'm
will
getting.
purchase
Yeah,
the Undertaker skin. I don't really care about the Cody Rhodes skin. I will
yeah.
purchase the Undertaker skin and I will delete that game. Is that me falling into mass consumerism? Yes. However,
There'll be a point
if
where we
anything's
enjoy it again, and you can play as the
yeah,
Undertaker at that
if
point. So
if
yeah.
anything's released with Undertaker, I'm buying it because I'm a shill for the dead man. Now,
If you're talking about Fortnite, I got the latest Battle Pass when it came out because of it having the Mortal Kombat tie-ins, and I love Mortal Kombat. You love Mortal Kombat too.
I do love Mortal
It's one
Kombat.
of our favorite franchises. We've talked
I
about this on that on the video game podcast that we do too. But
oh yeah, we do that.
yeah, we do occasionally. But
Very
but like
total biscuit there.
it got
We
really
occasionally talk
upsetting
about
that
video games.
well,
I'm about to
it
mute.
got really upsetting that they went right for this battle pass. We're putting on Mortal Kombat, and it's just Sub Zero, and you have to get to the level 100 for him.
Ugh.
So I know. I think I'm like level 80, but I've not actually been. I've only when I went onto the main battle royal the other day, I did the thank the bus driver thing, which is what I do in every game, and it came up and said like
Such
I
a
got the
British.
reward for doing 10 out of 10, which means I've had 10 matches in the whole season in like the last 3 months. I've been going on custom games mainly because you can gain XP in them and stuff and just playing
Um,
more enjoyable shit. And
thing is,
I've hardly touched the main game because it pisses me off.
the
But
annoying thing is I wish I liked it, man. I
I
do.
know, same.
I go through phases. Every now and then there'll be a new season that comes out that's nine
It's
times
actually
out of
all
ten.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, 9 times out of 10 for me, they've stripped away the bollocks and all the movement shit
yeah,
and all that stuff. Like I know they're going through. They've got a mode going through the seasons again.
yeah,
When that original Marvel season comes back, brother, we're there. Like
yeah, yeah.
we ain't
Absolutely.
leaving that shit,
Yeah.
right? We'll find someone else's fat kid to throw into the storm. Like we'll do, we'll bring back the classics. But
We'll get another member of Team Venom just to upset and make them rage quit.
yeah, 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 the good old days.
That's
But other,
that's what happened whenever we used to group Fortnite. There's still the video
yeah,
somewhere on the YouTube channel. You guys should check it
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah. But nah, man, I just can't do it. I'm all about Marvel Rivals.
Yeah,
But
and
you know what? We need to bring back a video game podcast for this reason.
yeah, yeah,
We haven't done that pod in just about as long. So one episode, the first episode we ever do of that back, it's just going to be one massive fucking catch up.
yeah, yeah. Basically, but
However, wrestling.
WrestleMania.
Da, 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 da.
So, mate,
Roman Liddell.
so we'll go straight into Stand and Deliver, and I'll be honest, mate, I'm really, really looking forward to Stand and Deliver, and the fucking timing of it this year as
Oh,
well.
4:30 p.m.
It's great. I mean, I'm literally like I think I was saying to you just before the pod started recording. I've got like a mini viewing party. I think there's going to be 8 of us watching Mania this weekend, and I'm just telling them, well, look, just come in the afternoon. We're going to watch NXT, and we're going to go through that. We'll watch. I mean, no, obviously the time we're recording it's Friday. We're a day before WrestleMania, but it's also SmackDown in the Hall of Fame tonight. So tomorrow, when I've got the viewing party on, for any gaps in time, it's going to be either Hall of Fame or SmackDown that we put
Yeah.
on purely because Mania weekend. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to NXT, and I think I've always enjoyed NXT, but I've never consistently watched it because of availability and like the viewing things, and you know how they've had all those different viewing
Yeah,
deals
yeah,
where like, oh yeah, you've got to get BT Sport to watch NXT in the UK. Like, why?
yeah.
and all that sort of stuff, or you've got to wait 6 weeks for it to turn up on the WWE network or whatever the gap was. But with it being on Netflix, and it literally tells me immediately, like in the morning, oh, you haven't watched NXT this week. Like, all right, thanks, Netflix. Appreciate it. So I end up watching it, and I started watching it, and I've become such a fan of frigging Obafemi, who last year I was like, yeah, he's all right. When I think I watched him going after the North American Championship last year, yeah, for a while, and was like, okay, yeah, it's pretty cool. And now it's like, yeah, no, he's great. I can see exactly why he's the NXT champion, and I've just, yeah, I think he's great. And so I'm really
Well,
looking forward to Stand and Deliver. And also, one of our like favourites, Jordan Grace, is getting the
I know.
NXT Championship match as well.
I
And
know. My wife is helping my mother. My mum has like a small business thing she does, and
yeah,
she's doing like a stall on Saturday, and my wife's helping her. It's like 12 till 4, and she's like, "Do you think I'll be back for 4:30?" I'm like, "Well, if you pack up and hurry, yeah." She went, "Oh my," she was like, "Oh my God, what if Jordan Grace is the first match?" I was like, "I don't know, slap my mother. I don't know, like
I like
make
I
a
like that your
make a
wife is
choice."
helping it.
Oh yeah, yeah. My mom was
It's
like, "G
Mania
one's
weekend,
out."
man. Like,
Yeah, no. Oh no, this is the beauty of it. I haven't been this week. I have not been asked to help or do a fucking thing because
other
everyone
than this
knows
podcast.
it's penciled in. It's Mania week. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, my stepson who lives in Newcastle now is coming all the way from Newcastle to Derbyshire to watch WrestleMania with me and my lad and stuff as well. We've got a couple of local mates coming around as well. It should be really good. And
It's nice as
it's
well. To
Mania
be fair,
weekend.
my stepson is at his dad's this weekend,
Yeah.
so he's back Sunday. But he's gonna, for the first time ever, he's gonna watch Mania Night 2 at least
Ah,
live.
nice.
Um, it's like we've ran down the rules, like just because you're up, you're not pissing about, sort of thing. You're watching it
Yeah.
or you go to bed, sort of, you know.
Yeah.
But I was
Yeah.
like, I said to her, I was like, obviously, whatever you do with your dad's, does your dad let you just like binge TV and stuff? He's like, oh yeah. I was like, all right, cool. Sunday morning, wake up, get your breakfast, put WrestleMania Night 1 on, watch
Nice.
that through Sunday, come home, go to bed at your normal time. I'll wake you up before the show starts. We
Hmm.
smash this out.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
can we have snacks? I'm like, son of a bitch, I'm in. Let's do this.
Do you know what Ruben pointed out to me, which is amazing? Sunday's Easter. I'm going to have fucking Chocolate Mountain for night two.
Oh yeah, I know. Penny has got so much Easter eggs. I think she's one. She can't have them.
That's your
Um,
WrestleMania snack story.
yeah, yeah. But I said to Luke, to my stepson, I'm like, oh, bear in mind he's 9 next month, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what snacks do you want for Mania? He's like, have you still got the American popcorn you went from? We went to Nashville. I went, yeah. He went, can we have that? Yeah, of course we can. And then he goes, oh, can you make me garlic parmesan wings and some spicy wings? We could throw a pizza in. I was like, are you funding this? I was like, yes, we can, of course, obviously.
We're literally gonna walk around and get some frozen pizzas ready so that I can cook them at like 11 o'clock or whatever, and then we've got
Oh,
pizza
that's
for
what I'm
Mania.
doing. Yeah, we've got like
All the
the I
takeaways
can't
are
remember.
gone by that time, and
Yeah, I
takeaway
can't
pizza's
remember.
just a bit shit, heated up afterwards.
Yeah,
Locally, anyway.
although I will say, anyone who heats up pizza to eat it later, like when
Yeah,
you're a psychopath. Pizza
exactly.
is better cold,
Yeah,
unless it's frozen, and then it tastes like weird if it's too
yeah,
cold.
obviously, yeah,
But like, if someone orders like a takeaway pizza or a Domino's,
yeah.
and
Oh,
then
Domino's is the king of cold pizzas.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
we don't.
Especially if it's a meteor or whatever. I mean, with the barbecue base, they're amazing cold,
Oh yeah,
and I
but
like
we
that. And
digress
that's yeah.
because we've
Oh,
been here for like 20 minutes.
Mania.
Mania.
Actually,
We're so
NXT.
excited about WrestleMania weekend. We're not talking about it.
Yeah, we're just talking about what we're gonna get up to for it. Like, so let's run through this really quickly. We got 7 matches. We could give a minute to each one of them for SmackDown to
I mean,
deliver.
look, in fairness, I've got a free day, right? I know you've got a free day.
Yeah, yeah.
So
We
if
can just keep
this
jumping back on. Yeah,
literally, yeah, we can just it is what it is. We've done a nice little intro. We'll start talking
yeah.
about some.
Little.
Yeah, yeah. A,
Fucking
ma-
30-minute
a
intro.
man's little. Should we start talking about the Hall of Fame? Because I feel like we probably deserve. We need to give
Sorry,
it
I've got
like.
AIDS.
That's fine. I gave you. So then we can give the rundown to NXT
Yeah, man.
properly.
Have you
Oh
got
well.
the list of the Hall of Fame in front of you?
I don't, but isn't it like only 4 people in a match?
Yes.
I'll get it up now. Sorry.
I mean,
One
to be
minute. One minute.
fair, the
I'll just
list is
search WWE
great.
2K.
It's all right.
Oh,
I've got
man,
'em.
2020. I got it. There we go.
So
Da, da,
yeah.
da. Da, da, da. Ding, 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 ding.
You know,
Oh, I've just seen the Legacy one.
I was about to say, have you seen that? That's literally what I'm ready
Ah,
for to talk about first is legacies.
okay. I'm very happy for the first one.
Yeah. So
Honestly,
we
that's a big step for him and WWE.
yeah. So do you want to go through it? Do you want to run through it, or do you want me to, or how do you want to do this?
Dun, 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 dun. You can run through
Welcome to the Hall of Fame podcast.
it.
Okay, so
Excellent.
right, we've got the legacy inductions. I'm going to mention all three of them because they're all fantastic. We've got Ivan Koloff, Dory Funk Senior, and Kamala going into the Hall of Fame, and all three of them absolutely deserve to be in the
Oh,
in,
100%.
in the Hall of Fame.
All three
And
of them could go in there individually.
yeah,
But I like that they've started doing this legacy thing because it's getting more people in there who deserve to be in there
and
that would
yeah,
miss out if they just did the handful of inductees only.
and I think as well, it's like the Triple H and Nick Khan running the show thing versus Vince running the show because
Yeah.
you still had a lot of politics involved with the Hall of Fame for years, and it's like, oh,
Oh,
such and such
absolutely.
should be in there, but they're not going to put them in because Vince is in control and Vince hates them.
Well,
Hence,
that's it. I mean, look how long it's taken for,
Savage is a prime example.
well, someone who's going in this year. The fact he's only just been
Yeah,
inducted this year because of issues with Vince. Obviously, now that's a non-issue with Triple H being involved, but the fact it's taken to 2025 for this guy to be going now, I'm assuming you know who I mean.
no, I'm assuming you're
It's
talking about Luger.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it's mental.
yeah. But like,
I'm
I
I'm
mean,
buzzing
Triple
that
H was
Kamala's
responsible.
going in there.
Yeah, same man. But it's like Triple H was responsible for Bruno Sammartino getting back on good terms with WWE. And it
Yes,
was Triple H that mended those fences, and we got Sammartino in the Hall of Fame, which is why Koloff is an absolute, rightful Hall of Famer because he's the one who ended Bruno Sammartino's historic 5 year or 7 year reign or however long it was.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because they only ever say it in days, and my brain doesn't math that quickly. It's like 2,800 odd days or whatever it was that San Martino held the belt for.
2,803.
Well, I was close. But to be
Yes,
fair, off the top of our head, wrestling knowledge is still quite fairly on point to be only
it
out by
is.
3 days.
It is.
Um, but yeah, so obviously Dory Funk, pretty much all of the like Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk and everything. Yeah,
Is Terry
all
Funk in
three
there?
Funks. Pardon?
Is Terry Funk in there?
I'm sure Terry Funk's already in there, yeah. But like all three
Or
Funks
was it
were
Chainsaw
like,
Charlie?
yeah, well, I might have been, but all three Funks were absolutely amazing, and they all contributed massively to the wrestling business. So I think Dory Funk Senior is completely overdue.
Absolutely.
And like I said, Kamala, man, Kamala was one of the first people that I saw in wrestling because of the old UK tapes that used to come out from Silvervision, where it was like the Hulk
Yeah.
Hogan Real America tapes, and it was Hogan and Kamala on there and things like that. And because I know when we spoke before, I've mentioned about the Royal Rumble '93 being the first full show that I had on tape, which it was, but I still had like those little Silvervision releases where it was greatest tag teams, high flyers, and Hulk Hogan Real American was one of them. And we could tell he was a real American because he never lost to a person of color. And
I was about to say something that basically the same thing, but I stopped because of a lawsuit.
well, I'm on about on that tape.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it was like from 89 or something like that. I think most of the Hogan stuff on there was. So we're okay. And he was such a real American that he also fought the Iraqis at one WrestleMania too. So that was WrestleMania 7.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
7.
yeah.
Yeah, because 8 was Psycho
America!
Sid. Yeah,
Fuck yeah!
8 was Psycho Sid. 9 was the Bret Hart Screwjob Part 1.
Yeah.
Poor Bret got shafted a lot in his WWE run, which I don't think I know that the focus is always on his way out, but he properly got shafted like in the early years too.
He did, but at the same time, the early years were just because of Hogan, and at
Yeah,
that point, that was just like part of the
it was the cash
business.
cow. Yeah, yeah, this was it.
Yeah.
And
Hogan fucked me over. Hey, welcome to the business, brother. Nice to have you.
look at what happened to the Undertaker. Undertaker tombstone Hogan and won the title, undefeated for a year at that point as well. Hogan, oh man, yeah, I think
Oh,
you got my neck there,
you
brother.
got me there, brother. 6 feet away from the chair. You got me there, brother.
I can't walk properly. I need the ambulance. I need the ambulance from you protecting me. Oh, by the way, you're losing the title in 7 days. That's your first loss. Who
Oh
to?
God.
To Hulk Hogan with his broken neck.
Oh my God. I've just thought, what if we hear that theme song this weekend?
Which one? Hogan's. What
Surely
for El Grande
after
Americano? Comes out managed by Mr. America.
Mr. America. Yeah.
That would be amazing. They should do it. They should absolutely do
If
it.
if they did that and have him be managed by Mr. America, I would be down for it because that's just like shithousery. But I've just got visions of, was it Elimination Chamber where, or what was it?
It was
Hogan
just the
came out
Raw,
to
wasn't it, where he came out to the booze and
oh, it
they
was the first Raw, wasn't it, on
and he was
Netflix?
advertised for the next Saturday night's main event, and then he's like, "Oh
And
no,
then they just
it's my
went,
son's wedding, so I can't go." Like, you're in all the adverts. You announced the damn show, and you didn't know your son was getting married.
if someone
That
20
sounds
like
like a Hoganism.
if someone 20 years ago went, Saturday night's main event will be back in 20 years, and the crowd will be angry to see Hogan, but buzzing their tits off to see Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, I
You'd have
know.
been like, "What fucking dimension are
Yeah,
you
because that
from?"
was at the point when Jesse Ventura was doing all this conspiracy theory stuff all the time,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, Mania.
Hall of Fame.
I
At least that tangent was wrestling based.
mean, yeah, that's true.
We're getting better.
So, one of the
So yeah,
things that, yeah,
Kamala, Dory Funk, and Ivan Cole off a legacy, all very
and they
deserving.
all deserve it. So I know we're
Absolutely.
like getting off track
Um,
and chuckling with each other and stuff, but
yeah.
we have, I absolutely have the utmost respect for everyone going in the Hall of Fame,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
it's just that
Uh,
we're really excitable because it's Radio Weekend.
yeah, we're like absolute children.
It
Um,
is. I've been watching WrestleMania consistently every year, yeah, live since about 1999. No, 2000. 2000 was the first one I watched live
yeah.
because yeah, because 99 I missed. It was the end of 99 when I started watching wrestling again. So 2000, yeah, because I
Rest,
can
for
remember
me,
the
WrestleMania
joys.
24 was the first one I was allowed to stay up and watch.
Yeah,
Like, my mum always bought me the pay-per-views on like Virgin Media box office and stuff, but
yeah,
I always watched them like the day after. But WrestleMania 24 was the first one that I was allowed to stay up and watch the whole thing, which probably, I know it's a great mania and we all know it's one of my favorites. We've had this discussion many times. Probably a good reason it's for that, to be honest.
yeah.
But the fact, yeah, that I'm still an excitable child, whether I'm 8, 28 or fucking 60,
I mean,
I'm a, I'm gonna be buzzing.
absolutely. And like one of the things that I love now is that I've got to the age where I can share this enjoyment of WrestleMania weekend with my children, and
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
next level stuff. Like, I mean, my son's been watching wrestling live for a few. My eldest son's been watching stuff live for quite a while now. He's 12. Um, I think the first time I started letting him stay up was during the pandemic when there was the no seat era of WWE, no crowd era, sorry, because that was when it was like, right, you definitely haven't got school tomorrow, mate.
Yeah,
so
might as
you,
well.
so sod it. We'll stay up late and we'll watch that. And I also remember the thing of him falling asleep during the Elimination Chamber when Miz cashed in on Drew, and
Oh,
and he woke up and actually swore at me like that because I was like an excitable child. I was like, Raymond, come on, man, it's happening, it's happening. He's like, what's happening? Look at the screen. And he's like, oh, cough, Dad. But then we were sending messages to that same extent to each other at the time.
yeah.
He was like,
Holy shit.
yes,
I know.
miss.
Are you seeing this? I'm seeing this.
When we saw it, like, there was something earlier in the show and where it showed MVP talking to Miz, and we were messaging each other, like, I really hope there's some fuckery going on there with Hurt Business and Miz gets the belt. That'll be amazing. And he did.
Yeah.
It's so great. Um,
WrestleMania.
yes, but it's still on topic.
It is.
So
This
the
year in
whole
the Hall of Fame, though, we are getting something new, something that Booker T's not a fan of.
oh,
But I'm
okay.
sure. But did you not see what he
I
said
didn't
on
know he
his
wasn't a fan of
podcast?
it. No.
Hilariously, on Booker T's Hall of Fame podcast, um, he said he said that you shouldn't go in the Hall of Fame for a match. A match shouldn't go in the Hall of Fame. How do you give a ring to a match? Well, a match is in a ring, to be honest. But yeah, he's not a fan of it. Although I guarantee if they put a Booker T match in there, he'd have more than those 2 rings on his finger. Happily
maybe
with a smile.
maybe Booker T versus Triple H, especially the build gets in there.
It's just on repeat. Someone like you, someone like you.
That's what's happening.
Or it's just a music video for Adele, and then at that point it comes to Triple H. Uh, but yeah, we are getting a match introduced into the Hall of Fame, which they are dubbing Immortal Moments,
Yeah,
starting with Bret the Hitman Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13, which arguably is the catalyst for
yeah.
what really pushed the Attitude Era characters were slowly building just before that,
Yeah,
but
and
that seemed
it
to sort
didn't
of really
officially
push
get
it.
crowned until later that same year, but it was
Yeah,
you
but that
has
definitely was the push.
yeah,
Obviously, the you've got that immortal moment, the blood from a stone, the whole
yeah,
thing of him passing
the
out,
the double turn
inducted by
and
yeah, inducted by CM Punk, which is interesting.
Yeah, well, he really loves both those guys. They're both his major influences, aren't they? So that makes sense.
Yeah. Also, I feel like WrestleMania 42. I feel like we might get Austin Punk.
Really hope that. But Austin said repeatedly,
He's ready. Yeah, he's ready. It's
some of the
just
ones he wants, if he was
yeah,
going to come back again, Punk's one of his dream matches. And
yeah.
I think he's
It's
meant. I think he
without
mentioned
sounding
Punk and AJ as another
yeah,
person in
without
one
sounding
interview.
homoerotic. I understand his age,
You would
but
bath everywhere.
yeah, I mean I would, but just more like I understand his age, but if you give Austin like pencil it in, exchange money, like
Yeah,
have it be already penciled in with those guys at Mania 42, night
yeah,
one main event, Stone Cold CM Punk, give Stone Cold the entire year to train,
yeah.
please,
You
please,
know what would be amazing
please wear your wrestling
if
gear.
they tease that on the fucking induction. You
Yeah, that
imagine
would be
that
great.
you've got Punk, Brett, and Austin all stood there, and Punk could challenge him out right there and then ask Brett if he wants the referee. Done. That would be amazing. You wouldn't need a special referee, but
No, because Brett is that fucking petty. He'd go off script and ring the bell immediately.
that would be
He
amazing.
would. Um, but yeah, like I loved when Austin came back against Kevin Owens. Everyone was like, "Oh, it might be a match. It might be a match,"
Do you
but
know?
no one really thought it was gonna be. My only issue is, and I understand again, I understand he's not 38 anymore. Like,
Yeah,
but please, just one last time in a match, wear your gear.
yeah,
No one's expecting you to be. He was never ripped. He's big, but never ripped. No one's expecting him to have like Braun Breaker physique.
yeah, yeah,
But just for that moment, for if that's his final, just I want to see that.
yeah.
Show
So
me them tits.
show me your rattlesnake.
um, I do want to ask because we can spit lyrical about Bret Harvey, Stone Cold at Mania 13. I'm pretty sure if you go through all our archives, we will have done many times.
Yeah,
I don't mind them putting matches in because I feel like um I
yeah.
feel
There
like
are some matches that are
it's a
bigger
good way
than
to
the
do it.
people.
Yeah, but I think there should also be a category in there for just not so much moments that are amazing. So, for example, I don't know, Undertaker v Shawn Michaels at 27, 26,
Yeah,
26.
the Michael's retirement.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah,
go in, right?
Ric
But
Flair
I would
versus
love,
Shawn Michaels should absolutely be in there too.
I should, but I would also, I'd really like to see like your next level matches that have happened go in there. Like Andrade versus Johnny Gargano was a match of the year.
Yeah,
It was incredible. Just not all the time, but just sprinkle them in there because their matches were that fucking good.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't think we could, like I say, we could probably do a whole fucking podcast of other
Just
matches
talking
that
about
should go in.
matches to go in this year. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
we'll move on to the group this year,
yes, which
which
is
is natural disasters.
yeah, yeah. I'm very happy with that. I love the national. I look again. I mentioned earlier I had those Silver Vision videos. They for the benefit of the listeners, Liz Connor is holding up a natural disasters art print signed by Typhoon, which is beautiful.
It is.
But yeah, in those early videos that I was talking about, there's a lot of stuff that involved the natural disasters. I remember having their Hasbro figures when they came out, as well as the two of them, and because I used to have loads of those like in the early
Yeah,
90s,
the
and
the stubby ones.
yeah, yeah, I had loads,
I've
and
still got a in package bushwhacker Luke.
nice. Do you know what I can remember over here, which is something that no one else seems to remember, but it's like it's some form of fever dream. I remember going into a partner's stationery shop,
Yeah,
which then became Ryman's, and I don't even know if it still exists anymore. But I went in there, and they used to have a decent magazine selection. I used to get my X-Men comics from there, and this was about 92 sort of time. I can remember getting a WCW magazine from there that had a Galoob Ric Flair with it, with the belt as part of the magazine. That was the freebie, was it? Like the unposable WCW figures that you could get. Then that was
yeah, he's like that, isn't he? He's like
yeah, yeah, doing
hunched
like the little
over.
hunch. But I got
Yeah,
that with a magazine, and And I've mentioned that to people, like, no, no, fuck that. Like, no, I remember it. That was the only reason I had that mag. It might not have been a WCW mag. It might have been like one of the other random wrestling mags that used to come out all the time because there was so many. But I digress. Anyway, natural disasters, man. They were awesome. Oh, okay. So for the benefit of the viewers, Connor's found a picture of that WCW mag with Ric Flair on. Okay, yeah, I had that. Brilliant. Thank you, man. You just validated my
Well,
memories.
yeah,
It was not a Mandela effect.
it's not.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Natural disasters. I I had a lot of WCW DVDs given videos, sorry, DVDs.
yeah,
Fucking hell, I wish VHS is given to me when I was a kid, and it had lots of nitros on it.
yeah,
And granted, the gimmick was awful, but John Tenter heel solo.
yeah.
I know he did like the heel stuff with Hogan and
I can remember seeing the Dungeon of Doom stuff, and yeah,
yeah. But John Tenter's run as John Tenter showed how good he was. Granted, it wasn't booked well, but he showed that he was good.
yeah,
And him and Typhoon, man, again, I know it sounds daft, but this is, you will understand this logic because you're like me. The fact they're not in more video games
yeah,
really upsets me. Um, the natural disasters are one of, I think, the most underrated teams in terms of when you think legend teams.
yeah,
I don't think they get mentioned enough for what they were. Granted, yes, I can understand they were very much a success of the time. They were
yeah. Because
big.
they were big dudes, and
They were big dudes.
but they gave the little guys something to bounce off. You know what I mean? So like,
Their bellies.
well, yeah, no, I mean that
Yeah.
genuinely. They're like you used to get those sorts of matches where someone would go for a drop kick and they just stumble backwards slightly, but the guy doing the drop kick's done like a full-on flip because they've got enough. They're able to post off the guy and make themselves look better. They were awesome. So like those
I will
matches were actually really good for the time. So
only one time tag champs, which is crazy. They not actually been announced who they're going to get inducted by yet. Who do you think?
I hope that whoever does the induction is wearing a Shockmaster helmet and trips up the stage and falls through the podium. Just because, man, that would be amazing.
Um,
Although I don't think they would. I think they'd be a lot more respectful.
right. We'll move. We've got the individuals, the three headliners, quote unquote. But what we're going to do is, I don't know about you, but I need a slash. So let's take a small break, and
Yeah,
then
and
we'll
you'll just hear
come
some
back to
little
these.
jingle of like, no, no. Oh, you go for that one. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, Hall of Fame. Dun, dun, dun,
you
dun, 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 dun.
you were doing the old like 90s superstars tune, wasn't it?
Yeah. Dun,
Then you had all the little
dun.
clackers.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of 90s, one of the most surprising
Nice.
inductees that's
Nice.
definitely worth going in there is someone who I was a massive fan of in the 90s and had a huge impact in on the wrestling business in general. And that's the total package, Lex Luger. And I, I was of the generation that you remember I mentioned the Royal. I mentioned it actually earlier on in this the Royal Rumble '93 tape being one of the things that I had, and that had the unveiling of the total package and that and stuff. I can't remember what they actually referred to him as, but that whole era of wrestling was they
Was
were
that the
building Luger up.
narcissist?
The narcissist, that's it. Yes, and they had him with they had the unveiling of him with the
With the
mirrors and all that
mirror
sort of
and
stuff, and
yeah.
yeah, it was great. So my early experiences with wrestling all involved Lex Luger, and I remember the thing of watching WCW and seeing one of the early WCW things that I saw when it got popular was the War Games match where they had Luger crawling for Sting's help, and it was fake Sting like
Yeah.
that. That's one of my earliest memories as a child of watching WCW because WCW used to be on Channel 5 in the UK randomly, and that's what I saw. I was like, what the hell's going on? Who's this guy with his face like the crow and all? I got all that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, Lex Luger. Oh crap, Hogan, no. But yeah, I had that. I can remember having Marvel comics of WCW from the 80s, I think it was, in like an annual format, and it was yeah, WCW annual, and it collected all the Marvel comics that they did, and that was a story that involved Lex Luger as world champ as well on there, and it was bizarre. I like my inner child loved Lex Luger, and you know what I mean. That's
Yeah.
and by the time that I got into wrestling, watching wrestling full time again, which is, as I mentioned, about 99, 2000. Obviously, that was the point where things took a negative trajectory for his career, and because WCW got bought out, I only actually had. I used to switch between Raw and Nitro quite regularly, but I only had a good year of doing that before it was bought out and stuff. And because even though I didn't used to flip between them on a Monday night, I used to flip between them on a Friday night because Raw was on Sky Sports One and Nitro was on Bravo at the time on Friday at like the same. I think Raw might have started at 8, and Nitro might have started at 9. So for the first hour, yeah, get the full hour of Raw, and if Raw was starting to bore me, or if I was just just curious to see what was happening on the other side, I'd flick over to Nitro. I can remember watching all sorts of stuff, but Luger was always one of my favourites, so I'm really happy to see him in the Hall of Fame. Really happy. He, and the fact that he's being inducted by DDP, I think, is fantastic because for years, Luger's been at the point where he's not been able to stand unassisted, and he's been in a wheelchair for years. He's been doing the DDP yoga for years, and
Yeah.
DDP should go into the Hall of Fame again because of his rehabilitation of some of these guys. Because
Yeah. For
like what he did for
the
Jake, what he did for
Warrior
Scott,
Award and
yeah, yeah. And what
oh
he's
my
done
God.
for Luger, I mean,
Like
Luger can stand
imagine
again because
how
of it.
I'm gonna say, just imagine that how like as wrestling fans who aren't like the psycho people you see online who,
Yeah,
act like everything. It will genuinely be a nice emotional moment to
yeah,
see Luger standing at the podium.
yeah.
If he can.
If he can, and if he can't, it's still going to
If
be
he
nice to
can't,
see him
it's
there.
he's there
Do
and
you know
that's
what I mean? It's
important. But
yeah,
if the workers that DDP's put in has got to the point where he can stand, that would be
yeah.
incredible. Also unrelated, but I've just realised what shirt you're wearing. Nice.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's Christian Cage.
Yeah.
That you bought me.
I bought you it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That was in
yeah,
your wrestling goodie bag.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, it's because it's WrestleMania weekend, so basically it's only wrestling shirts this weekend. That's it.
I'm
Even
not
though
gonna
it's
lie.
Easter.
It's 12:22 in the afternoon and I'm still in pajamas. It is what it is.
Ha!
Yeah.
For the benefit of the listener, I've just stood up and revealed that I've only put a wrestling T-shirt
Correct.
on. My trousers aren't trousers; they are indeed pajamas. But yeah,
And
man,
yeah,
Lex Luger. One thing that I want to point out is that people are complaining that Sting isn't inducted him because of that friendship in the late '90s and all that lot. And but DDP's helped him stand, man.
he has,
DDP inducted
and
him
also
absolutely.
I feel like it's not Nick Khan you want to ask questions about that, to be
No,
honest. I
no,
feel like that's probably going to be the underlying issue there is, there's a toy out the pram situation,
yeah.
is what it
Yeah,
is.
with
Whether,
Sting because Sting's under
yeah,
contract to another company and
yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
But we don't know what's privy to that, and I'll be
It could also, Luger could quite honestly have asked for DDP to do it
yeah because of what
because
the
of
impact
how,
DDP's
yeah,
had on his life for the last however many years, and yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
At the end of the day, it's DDP for a reason. I'm sure Luger's happy with it, and that's all that
Yeah,
matters.
and yeah, but like, I mean, I'm just having a look at the list of stuff that Luger's done in his career. So he's a two-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion, two-time World TV Champion WCW, five-time and longest reigning NWA/WCW United States Champion, three-time WCW Tag Champ, and co-winner of the '94 Rumble, which saw him and Brett both get the title shot at WrestleMania 10. Yeah, WrestleMania 10.
Did he also win a Slammy?
He, yes, he also won a Slammy Award. I can't remember what that Slammy is for, but yeah.
Me either, but I remember the Slammy. I
Fair
remember him
enough.
holding it.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, so we're happy for Lex.
yeah,
I genuinely enjoy watching the Hall of Fame every year. So it's a nice like a bit of visual decompression
Yeah.
um, before you get to the madness that is now a 2 Night Mania. But
And
then next individual
well,
is
I like that everyone involved is going to be someone that you're going to want to hear stories from
yeah,
in some way,
absolutely.
shape, and form. And do you get? I know. Like, do you want to introduce the next one, or do you want me to introduce it based on what I think you will say?
All right, let's see what you'll say.
Okay, so next individual that lots of people have complained about going into the Hall of Fame, which I disagree with. I think she should absolutely be in there, because she's the wife of the Undertaker, Michelle McCool, two-time women's champion, two-time and first WWE Divas champion, and she's also held a couple of Sammy Awards and stuff. But the thing is, I know from conversations we've had, the era you got into wrestling would have been when Michelle McCool, the the wife of the Undertaker and Hall of Fame inductee, is when she was on top of the women's division would have been when you were watching when you first started watching wrestling regularly
Um,
because
I
you were
started
ruthless
watching.
aggression era, weren't you? So I
Yeah,
know
so
you've seen lots before, but yeah,
I started sitting and actually watching wrestling very regularly and enjoying it from about 2004. So I was about
yeah.
8 is when I proper got into just non-stop watching it.
So for the women's matches, you will have fond memories of Michelle McCool.
Yeah, so by the time 2005, 6-ish and onwards rolled out, that's when I like wasn't just watching people fight each other.
Yeah,
I understood the stories and everything, and that's where Michelle McCool and everything came in. I think she's incredibly deserving. I think
yeah.
she held down a women's division in a time where there was there was definite signs of talent among the roster, but there was no signs of it being given a chance.
We had
Um,
the Diva search, we had all those sorts of things that where it
yes,
was they were high. There was a point where I remember as an older fan at the time, I can remember reading online the actual memo that someone had leaked online, and it was that Vince McMahon had told talent the talent scouts to say don't worry about wrestling talent. Hire us we go after cheerleaders, models, wannabe
yeah,
actresses, all that sort of stuff. So they weren't. And one thing that I can actually remember seeing as well, Maria Kanellis or Maria Bennett now absolutely fell under that category because she was on like reality TV and stuff.
yeah,
I remember watching. I was going out with someone at the time, and she loved a program called Outback Jack, which was this American,
yeah,
sorry, an Australian friggin'
yeah,
in Love Island before Love
yeah,
Island existed. Maria's one of the contestants,
yeah.
and I was like, "What the fuck?" I got completely confused by that because we were watching it on a repeat, and by that point Maria was already in the WWE. So what's going
Yeah.
on like that? So
You
yeah,
remember Maria had the theme by Zebrahead, and it was like very 2004 pop punk, but she had it in like 2008. It was
yeah,
like, "Here she comes again, I could never stand."
yes,
Yeah.
very.
No.
It reminded me of Bowling Pursuit.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
But no,
but
I
anyway,
think
Michelle McCool, man, like
yeah, I think she's well deserving. I think there's gonna be touch wood, fingers crossed. I would love there to be a point where we get Cool back for
yeah,
one tag team run, win it, defend it 2 or 3 times, lose it, bow out.
yeah.
Would be perfect. I think.
Yeah, because they were the they were the first proper women's tag team.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely. I think. I think people like Michelle McCool, like Victoria, not so much Mickey James because she went and did things elsewhere
yeah,
consecutively. Same with like your Gail Kim. Melina, I know again backstage heat, but we're talking like what they were doing in the ring,
yeah.
not with it.
Not
And
Batista.
yeah, um, I think a lot of the things get overshadowed by small-minded fans, which
Yeah,
there appears to be more and more of those. Anytime I open a social media app,
man.
that
I
it
just
get that
yeah,
gets overshadowed by the how the women were portrayed at the time. Now you
yeah,
got to think these were women who went out there on a major pay-per-view, if they were lucky enough to be on it, and go, right, here's your title match, you've got 4 minutes including entrances.
And at the same time, the other women's matches that would get more airtime was bra and panties matches,
Bar and
pudding bowl
Panties match,
matches,
yeah,
nightgown
exactly.
matches, all that
Yes.
sort of stuff. Because there was like there wasn't the mindset that there is now. Like for example, when we get to talking about NXT, I'm pretty sure the pair of us are going to completely agree on the fact that the NXT women's division is absolutely amazing, and I've probably been watching that more. I'm probably more up on the women's division than I am the men's division on NXT
Oh, right
because
now, the NXT women's division is the best women's division in wrestling, in my opinion,
yeah,
anyway.
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah,
And that's the thing. We're at a point where you can watch NXT and you can like there was an episode the other week which started with a women's match. There was a brief men's match, another women's match, women's promo, backstage stuff with Becca and Ava chatting away. We got a juggernaut promo for Jordan Grace. And you got another women's match, and it was like, but you don't notice now
you don't bat an
because
eye.
no,
It's
because
part of your
that's
stuff,
how
right?
it's gotten on
Yeah,
on there, which is great. And like Raw, for example, Rhea Ripley has been one of the biggest stars on Raw for years. And Liv Morgan's been like one of the best heels of the last year. You had the thing of Becky Lynch when she smashed barriers and got to the main event of WrestleMania and all that sort of stuff, and because of fan support. And yeah, the women's wrestling's completely different now to what it was in Michelle McCool's time. And Michelle McCool was one of the ones that didn't want to be viewed as like the eye candy sort of
yeah.
thing. Michelle McCool was one of the ones who put the work in, had some fantastic matches and stuff, and you could tell that by the fact that I know she only held the women's championships in total 4 times, two WWE women's, two Divas ones, but they were lengthy reigns.
Yeah,
And there was points where, like, there was the point where Lacey was the co-women's champion, and
it
they
was a
snapped the
split in
belt.
half.
Yeah, yeah, with the comical split in the middle as well. But
Yeah, the fucking zigzag, the perfect.
yeah, yeah, but that went on for absolutely ages, and it was great. And
Yeah,
she had loads of decent runs, and yeah, I think I absolutely would champion Michelle McCool going into the Hall of Fame. I think it's well deserved. The fact that we've already got Trish and Lita in there from the and China. I know China was by the DX induction,
mm.
but it was also posthumous as well. So it's like you can't.
Tori Wilson, Stacy
Tori,
Keibler, Jacqueline in it?
yeah, I'd like to think Jacqueline would be there, but like
Molly Holly's in it.
yeah, Molly Holly is. But
Yeah,
like you got, like you say, Tori Wilson and Stacey Keibler going in there. Tori Wilson were the generation that overlapped. Tori Wilson and Stacey Keibler were the generation that overlapped into the beginning of Michelle McCool's career.
yeah,
And I think Mickey James should absolutely be going into the Hall of Fame at some point. I'd assume next year, now that she's involved with LFG and all that sort of stuff.
yeah, yeah.
I think that's sort of an impending induction. And
I'd
Mickey
say the
James
same for
and
Victoria.
yeah, Victoria should definitely be in there as well. Um, yeah, they, they were all the ones that were having great matches is with what they could do
When they
with
weren't
with
meant
the
to.
limited time. Yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah, again, yeah, I'm very happy she's going into the Hall of Fame. It's
yeah.
great. And this year's Hall of Fame class is just like, yeah, no faults whatsoever. I think it's all great. I think they all deserve to be in there. It's awesome. And I know lots of people have complained about the main guy going into
Which is
the Hall of Fame, which
ridiculous.
is silly. Um, because obviously the first name that went out there for the Hall of Fame was Triple H, and they did that really awesome induction thing where they genuinely caught him off guard,
Yeah,
and you can tell by the look on his face that he has no idea why Shawn Michaels is going out there on that press day that they were having. Yeah, and that Nick Khan's like got the massive like shit-eating
shitty thing
grin,
going. Yeah.
like, yeah, because he's like he knows what's happening.
Oh, of
And
course.
according to the Undertaker on his podcast, it was Undertaker, Shawn, and Nick Khan that knew about it. Stephanie didn't even know.
Yeah.
So, and I
It's
like that they did it that way.
oh,
I think
me
that's the
too.
perfect way to do it.
There's no argument that can be made, in my opinion, for him not going in.
Yeah,
There is very few people in wrestling in general that have done what he's done in the ring.
yeah,
Take
and
away the OO and all that, head of
Yeah.
this, head of that. We're talking about Triple H, not Paul Levesque.
And Paul
Triple
Levesque
H,
and his work behind the scenes should go in the Hall of Fame
oh,
too. Like,
100%.
you know what I mean?
But
That's
Triple
the
H,
thing.
we don't even really need to spend lots of time talking about it because first ballot Hall of Famer, the fact
Hmm.
he didn't get put in there the second he came out at that mania and left his boots in the ring.
Yeah,
He should have been the number one fucking person straight after that.
yeah,
Um, I do agree that they should stop wrestling. Like they should go into the Hall of Fame when it's retirement. So it kind of bugs me
yeah.
all that Ray
The
comes out
Ray.
and it's like, but he's in the Hall of Fame, and then when Edge was oh,
I,
I couldn't accept
I
Edge
think
actually because he came
Edge
back from the injury.
and Goldberg as well to a degree. Like Goldberg, I think was an exception because everyone had assumed he'd retired, and then he started a new run a few years
Yeah,
after his Hall of Fame
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
So I can sort of see why that would happen.
yeah. But I
Um,
think I think Triple H, there's no denying it. There's probably going to be a good amount of Triple H moment matches going in the Hall of Fame in the future as well.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Triple
Um,
H, Undertaker with Shawn Michaels as referee in that Hell in a Cell at Mania, that should go in.
Evolution will be in there.
Triple H versus Cactus Jack.
Yeah,
Either of any of the Triple H Cactus, or there's the three big ones, isn't there? There's the debut of Cactus Jack in '97 with the Falls Count Anywhere match, which was fucking awesome. There's the Royal Rumble Street Fight, which was fucking awesome. There's the the Hell in a Cell match at No Way Out that followed the Street Fight, which
fucking
ended
awesome.
Mick Foley's career full time. I know they brought him back for the WrestleMania main event, which absolutely right call to do that. But it was a one and done because he was retired. And yeah,
Triple H
but
versus D'Lo Brown in a
in the
blindfold match.
blindfold match, yeah, that was such a good match.
Yeah,
Still, still a bit jelly that you got to speak to D'Lo about that.
when he was working for another company as well.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know.
one more question, D'Lo.
When we got that list of like, because I was working, wasn't I? So I couldn't do the call. This is, dear listeners, we're going back by many, many years.
We're
We
going
had
about 4 years
an
back.
interview. It might have been more than that, man. Probably about six.
Oh shit, no, D'Lo was my first interview.
Yeah, that was like the third episode of a podcast that you were involved with, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That was
No
before
wonder
we had.
people hated me.
Yeah, no, yeah. Dave did not appreciate that. I didn't ask him about dealer. That genuinely, I literally had a conversation of going, look, I'm at work. We should definitely let the new guy have the interview because it's something nice straight away. It's like a thing of go, look, we can get this stuff. Here you go, like
Yeah.
that. So you got that D'Lo interview, and yeah, so I was stuck at work. And there was that whole long list of stuff to not say. Can you remember my message about that? It's like, oh yeah, TNA have said avoid this, and this, but don't worry about it.
Yeah, because I remember I was like, I'm not, I'm going to ask him about the blindfold match.
We literally, yeah, just they're okay if we ignore stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I got big props from TNA after that interview. Thank
He
you.
did, yeah, it was really
Yeah.
good. Yeah. But yeah. But yeah, anyway, Triple H absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. I love the fact that he's going in there. I think one point that I'd like to make to the people that are complaining is
Shut up.
there's a hell of a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame already that absolutely deserve to be in there that have gone in there ahead of Triple H and shouldn't have gone in there ahead of Triple H based on body of work.
With
And
all
you
due,
can,
I understand the logic behind why he went in
yeah,
because of what it was. But we're living in a world where you're complaining about Triple H going into the Hall of Fame, yet Titus O'Neil went in before him.
yeah, well, yeah,
I
there's that.
I love Titus and I understand the sheer amount he's done for charity, and that was the hurrah, hurrah, hurrah. And that was the whole that he went in for the Legacy Award and that sort of thing. But still, someone of Titus O'Neil's in-ring caliber
Yeah,
went in before Triple H.
exactly. And
It's
and this,
crazy.
but there's really top tier Hall of Famers that went in before him. Like, for example, Edge. I
Yeah,
loved Edge. I think Edge absolutely deserved to go in there. 11-time world champ, I think he was at the time.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah, all the tag division, all that.
won
Edge
everything.
started in the WWE 2 years after Triple H did. When Edge won his first tag team championships, Triple H was the world champion. And just using that frame of logic, and the 14 times that Triple H has, or is it 15 now? However many times Triple H has won the World Championship, like using that logic that he's in double digits for title reigns and stuff. There's so many people that he edges out, no pun intended. But like Edge, Batista, for example, I know Batista isn't in there yet, but he was going to, and then the pandemic caused it to not happen. Batista absolutely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Absolutely, 100%. And he would have had an induction before Triple H if everything had gone to plan, which is still, fine because Triple H didn't. Triple H was still actively wrestling. Triple H has had one of the longest and most consistently good careers.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He didn't he retired because he had to because of a medical condition, but he hadn't lost a step. He hadn't got to that
No.
point where it's like you've got to retire because you don't look the way you
Yeah.
used to. He still looks like if he decided, right, I'm going to get in the ring and beat the crap out of Cody Rhodes, who's at Mania in the main event. Yeah,
Yeah.
fine. I'd absolutely, he's still got that physique and that aura about him.
Definitely 100%.
And the amount of people, and again, I don't mean this as any disrespect to Edge or Batista or Rey Mysterio as well. I mean, Rey Mysterio has the thing of all of ECW and WCW before WWE, but I'd still say Triple H has a more Hall of Fame career
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
consistent main events and again, not shitting on those other people because they all absolutely deserve to be in there. It's
But
just that, like,
also, out of everybody, there's one thing he has that every single individual in the Hall of Fame doesn't.
yeah,
Every single individual. They never put in an Oscar-worthy performance in Blade Trinity
that is true.
or Blade 2.
They never got to talk to Ryan Reynolds, who was acting as a pre-Deadpool
Yeah,
little about wieners.
exactly. But yeah, well deserved to go in. Literally through both. Essentially, I know you started watching slightly before me, but Triple H is a man who's literally being covered through the entire of me watching wrestling and most of you watching it.
Yeah,
So well worthy. But Mania weekend, NXT stand and
yeah,
deliver.
yeah. We finally got around to that part of the
We
podcast.
have
Some hour and a half into a
we
recording.
have 7 matches, including a pre-match, but we
Yeah,
will be including the pre-match because it's
I
on a
don't count
match
them as a
card.
pre-match now because
No, no.
it's
But
all on for us in the UK at least. It's all on in one place anyway. So yeah,
so got my notepad for
predictions.
yes. So the pre-match,
I,
this has been
it,
advertised
oh,
pre-match.
this ties into
Fatal,
what we were just saying when we were talking about Michelle McCool. The pre-match
yeah,
is going to be great.
yeah.
So you
Fatal
do you can,
four-way tag team elimination match to determine the number one contender for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship.
the fact that we could have 8 women and all of them could absolutely win this shows how good the NXT Women's division is.
I mean, there's 7 matches, like I say, including the pre-match of this, yeah.
Yeah,
And in that, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 women are on this match card.
yeah,
That's, if that's not a step where the NXT Women's Division is, I don't know what is. So
yeah.
we have Metaphor, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson versus Fallon Henley and JC Jane versus Tatum Paxley, G Dolan versus Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. I am going to go straight out and think and say I'm going to go for Metaphor. I feel like the obvious choice
Yeah.
is Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade, but
No, I think Roxanne
I
Perez is going to Raw or SmackDown after Mania. That's got to happen.
yeah, exactly.
They
So
put her
for
in the
me,
Elimination Chamber and she looked like she should be in the Elimination Chamber. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
yeah.
so for me, Metaphor is who I'm going with for this.
Okay.
I could see all of them except Perez and Jade because, like I say,
Because they
unless
call
Perez
up
and
both
Jade are
of them
going up
as well.
together,
Yeah.
unless they're going up together as a tag team.
Because they could go straight. If Liv and Raquel retain, the night after Raw, they could have a mystery tag team opponent.
Yeah,
And yeah, book that, Hunter. Give them the tag titles the night after Mania, or give them the WWE main roster tag titles night after Mania on Raw. Do it. We dare you. Yeah.
No, give it to Metaphor because then I win the point.
Okay, I'm going to give it to you know who I'd like to see win, and this is purely because I am actually a decent fan of it. I
Paxley,
want to see
Gigi.
Tatum Paxley and
Yeah,
Gigi Dolan win. Yeah, I like Gigi,
yeah, me too.
and I think yeah, definitely. I think they could be a real. I think well, I think any team could win, like you said. That's the beauty of NXT's women division at the moment. So
Yeah,
yeah,
awesome.
As-
Next, I'm going by the Wikipedia match card. We don't actually know what the
yeah,
order will be, but it's easier to just go from this. Ladder match for the
this
vacant
is going to be
NXT
so good.
Women's North American Championship. Zarya versus Kalani Jordan versus Sol Ruka versus Izzy Dame versus Lola Vice versus the retaining Thea Hale, who returned with Eddie Edwards' old TNA theme.
Yes.
Genuinely,
Do you know
straight off
what?
the actual theme.
I know.
Yeah, yeah. I heard it and
But
I'm like, wait a
I was like,
fucking minute.
I
Eddie
know.
Edwards
I
is it?
thought
Eddie
I
Edwards wants the
know.
NXT Women's North
I
American
thought he was going to
Championship.
introduce Alicia. So, yeah. Oh man. You know the only downside about that ladder match is I don't get why they did the double title. Well, actually, no.
It,
I'm
it,
actually the cogs are turning while I'm saying this. So I was
yeah,
going to say,
the injury wasn't as bad as they thought it was,
yeah,
basically.
there's that, but also maybe it was the thing of they wanted Vaca to go all the way to the top and not take any big losses until that point, and therefore her NXT title run could have originally been planned for months away, or could have been a stand and deliver match that's won, and the North American Championship's been vacated so that she doesn't have to have that loss.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it. I was about to moan about it, yeah, but I can actually see why. So, yeah. But in that, I'm literally picking a name out of a hat, sort of thing, because I just any of them could win it. All of
So
them could win it. Do you know what I mean? It's
I am going for Thea Hale, right?
okay.
Purely because
The
since
return.
no, not even that, but since Chase U disbanded, they got rid of Duke Hudson.
Yeah,
Um, Chase, what's his face, has essentially been nothing. Thea Hale went off the grid. The fact that she's returning shows that they see something in her and they want to do something with her. I
yeah,
think this is a perfect time. You've got Zarya and Sol Ruka in there, who are a team slash alliance. I think we're gonna see something like Zarya climbing the ladder and Ruka's gonna hit a Soul Snatcher.
yeah,
Not necessarily a heel turn because I think it's just a every man for himself. Sol Ruka's gonna stop Zarya and then Zarya is going to turn heel, destroy Sol Ruka like later on down the line in NXT, probably an episode or two after, and then we get a big Zarya push, which
yeah,
is cool. Kelani Jordan, I wouldn't, this is another one where anyone could win, but for
yeah,
me, I am going to go with Thea Hale because I feel like this Thea Hale winning this is it's like when oh shit, what's her name?
Hmm.
Um,
I don't know,
she
man.
she got she got released, but she won the women's title, NXT women's title, and then got injured.
Um,
Uh she was in the way with Candice
oh,
LeRae.
Candice LeRae, yeah.
Not her, the other one. She was with it.
Okay.
There was Candice LeRae and the other one. Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts.
Don't
I
worry
don't
about
know.
it.
I
Well, I'm
can't
going to say
actually.
Kalani Jordan just so that we're different, but I think Thea Hale is absolutely probably going to win. So I'll go with Kalani Jordan just so that we've got a difference
Indy
on it.
Hartwell.
Indy Hartwell, of course. Sorry.
Yes. Yep. So
Yeah,
you're going. Who are you going? Sorry, Kalani
Kalani
Jordan.
Jordan. Just say that we're not picking the same person,
I
which
think we're picking the same person for the next one.
I don't know. I don't know.
Kalani.
I think we're going to have opposing views on the next one, possibly. I don't know.
Okay, well, the next one is the Fatal 4-Way for the NXT Women's Championship. Stephanie Vaquer, champion, defending as Julia, Jada Parker, and Jordan Grace.
Yeah, I can see any of them winning.
I can see all of them winning.
I
But there is one that I am not willing to put my head in front of my heart.
yeah, I know. I want Jordan to win. I want
Yes.
Jordan to win it, but I also want Jordan to get called up to the main roster on Raw or the night after Mania. So what do we do? Do you know what I mean?
I would. Thing is,
I think if Bakker, if
the
Stephanie
women's
Baker leaves,
the
she's going to Raw.
the main event women's division is always a bit dodgy just after Mania
Yeah,
because there's a lot of rematches and stuff. So what I would like is Jordan Grace wins this, has a lengthy title run,
yeah,
loses closer to Survivor Series, and is called up to be a surprise part of a women's War Games match.
that'd be cool. Yeah, yeah.
That's how she comes up.
Okay.
That's how I would do
Whereas
it.
how I would like, in fact, I wouldn't even put her on Raw. I'd put her on SmackDown. So
Superstars.
SmackDown, Tiffy look like again. A spoiler for Mania if this happens. I can see Tiffy losing to Charlotte. Charlotte Flair coming out on SmackDown because big money contract to get her back or whatever. I can see Charlotte coming out on SmackDown with the women's championship, saying that she's beat everyone there is to beat. There's no one, doing that whole spiel of, oh yeah, there's no one really that offers a challenge to me in the roster. All this Juggernaut comes out, bam, new women's champ. I'd
Yeah,
love that.
I'd love that too, but they're not gonna let Charlotte drop it after like 4 weeks. That's just not gonna happen.
No, I mean like 1 week, like that.
Yeah,
Literally, the
that's not gonna
SmackDown after
happen.
Mania, just
Remember who her
done.
dad is, and
I
remember
know.
who's in charge of the stories.
Yeah,
It's
but the
not going
point
to
is, if that means that Charlotte's ever so closer to beating her dad's record,
Yeah, it's no. So who are you picking for this fatal four way?
Stephanie Booker,
You think
unless
she's
she's going to the main roster. I think if she loses, she's going to the main roster
you think
because
she's walking in and out as champion?
yeah, because I want Jordan to get called up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean,
That's but I
um,
could see I could see Booker, Julia, or Grace, or even Parker winning because Jada Parker's that level of this would make her. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? This would make her at that division. The other three are absolutely three of the best women's wrestlers in the world at the moment,
yeah,
hands down. You could put any of them on the Raw after Mania or SmackDown after Mania and make the women's championship on Raw and SmackDown look a lot more. You can take their feuds to the next level by putting someone from this match in there. Aside from maybe Jada Parker, because Jada Parker hasn't won any titles yet in WWE. So yeah, I'm going to go with
uh,
that.
yeah. So then next we have Fraxium defending the tag team championships against Hank Walker and Tank Ledger. I'm gonna go for Hank and Tank because I think we're getting
Okay.
Fraxium called up. I think
Well,
that's just
yeah,
it.
because Nathan Frazier was on SmackDown against Phoenix the
Yeah,
other week, wasn't he?
I think
But
Fraxium have been champion for that long and
I'm going to
been.
pick. Well,
I think they're gonna
I'm
go.
going to go opposite. Yeah, I'm going to pick Fraxium because they gave them multiple wins over the Hardys in both NXT and TNA, and I think they should capitalize on that and then just losing in a standard match. If it was a ladder match, a multiple man match, the whole protective booking thing, I could see
Yeah,
them losing, but I can't see them losing this, or I don't want to see them losing this. Like that, that's more like it. So I think they're gonna be retaining. So we've got someone different for each match so far.
Ricky Saints defends the NXT North American Championship against Ethan Page. I
Saints is
think
Saints
I
is
think it's
keeping
got
it.
to be Saints. He's not been champ long enough, really.
There's a lot we could say about both, but and we could justify both of them. But I think Saints, after how short Sean Spears' title reign was and stuff, Saints has got to have a decent lengthy one, unless he's getting pulled up.
Yes.
So
I think
and
this is
even
going to
Page, I could see getting called up straight away as well. So
I could see this being both go for this. The D'Angelo family versus Dark State. I think it's got to be Dark State.
yep,
They,
there
they've
we go.
just
It's
yeah
just
they've just debuted. You can't really you can't
they've got to learn from the Nexus
yeah you
debacle,
can't
and
and Retribution. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
agreed.
Oba,
Main
Oba,
event.
Obafemi defends the NXT Championship against Trick Williams and Javon Evans.
Love this matchup. I
Me
really
too.
do. Like, I think the only person that it definitely isn't winning that is Trick.
I think Trick is will winning it.
Oh,
I think. we're gonna get some kind of. I think we're gonna get a reveal that Trick Williams is the leader of Dark State.
Which could happen. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what because
Oh, they could run in and cost. Yeah, okay, yeah, fine.
because yeah, because
I can see where you're going.
Trick has slowly been getting angrier and more heel cracks really in his
Especially
promos, especially with
with
Javon.
Javon. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Although I will say, Javon Trick and Obafemi is like a Pokemon evolution.
It really is.
Yeah.
But I
But I
could see
think,
Oba losing it to go to the main roster again because he's
yeah, I think
just got star
Obafemi's
power.
100% going up, right? But I
Yeah,
think what we're going to get is, let's say towards the end of the match, Trick Williams and Javon do some type of team move that takes Oba out.
yeah,
Some massive thing, maybe through an announce table or through something that wipes Oba out for the last 5 minutes of the match.
yeah,
And then I think Javon is going to be just on the cusp. Maybe hits the OG cutter
yeah.
and then Dark State.
Okay, I absolutely want to see that happening. How you've gone for it, but I'm gonna
There isn't a person in this match who I'd be sad walking out as champion.
yeah, yeah.
But I
Okay,
think we've had whoop that trick for so long.
I know,
Um,
but because of the whoop that trick thing, and see what I was thinking, completely contrast to your dark state theory, but I like that more. I was thinking Trick's the next call up. Trick or
Possibly.
Obafemi. Trick could
I
be on
guess so, yeah.
SmackDown and just go straight after Carmelo. We can give Carmelo something to do. Do you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
could see that happening. I'd like to see Javon win purely because it's someone fresh and he's been being
Is that,
built up for months. I think that'd be great.
is that your
So
pick?
yeah, Javon's my pick. And I'd like to see Oba. In fact, I'd like to see Oba stay in NXT but go to TNA and take Moose's X Division Championship because that would just be hilarious. But
That'd be funny.
anyway, that's we've done it. We've done Hall of Fame. We've covered the Hall of Fame. We've covered NXT Stand and Deliver, man.
We
So
have.
let's wrap this up. Thank you for being here. Thank you everyone for listening. And if you were listening to the Mega podcast, you've probably got another hour of us waffling. So thank you for sticking around for that too. And we'll see everyone else in part 2, which is the WrestleMania podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 2 of our supersized WrestleMania weekend podcast. If you're listening to it all in one batch, we salute you because it's going to be a fucking long one.
Yeah.
We were like, yeah, we'll keep half an hour for Hall of Fame and NXT. It's been over an hour. Sorry, but we salute you for sticking out this long.
Absolutely.
But speaking of saluting people for sticking things out this long, what I would like to absolutely acknowledge is that we've now gone past the 500 mark of our YouTube videos, which is
Oh, I thought you were going to
amazing.
say Team Venom hosts quitting.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. But like I mean, Team Venom started in 2013, so we're 12 years in. You've been with us for more. I say us. You've been with me because there's no one else. You've been with me on this for over 6 years now, which is
Yeah.
amazing. And when you first got involved, we had maybe 20, 30 videos on YouTube, if that. Because we started, and then that was the point when because we weren't pushing YouTube so much in the early days. We were doing all the podcasts, which you did more of than anyone at the time as well, which upset them and they all that. But we when Team
I did
Venom's
all of them.
yeah,
I
I
did
know.
solo podcasts.
I remember, like, oh, I don't think I can make the TNA one. It's like, right, well, I'm just sitting here with my microphone, right sound. But we went from like being like less than 100 when you started. So it's, I think, I mean, there's also stuff that we've had to remove from YouTube for copyright and
Money's
people's
been spat
feelings
out and
and yeah, all that sort of stuff. So we're probably a lot higher than the 500 mark.
yeah.
So I would say I would like to celebrate at least 500 episodes of podcasting with your good self because
Hey,
that's more than likely what we did.
cheers.
Cheers. I've got a. Well, I wonder if you'll hear this. It didn't make a noise. I'm sorry, but yeah. So WrestleMania, man. Like it's that time of year which we've done. We've been doing WrestleMania. I was flicking through the YouTube channel, and there's previews for WrestleManias that I'd forgotten we'd even previewed. I'm sure there was a WrestleMania 37 um, preview that the pair of us did on there.
Yes.
We did that whole thing. Do you remember when we were doing the podcast where we went, right, we're going to recap every WrestleMania? And
Yeah,
me, you, and Danny sat down and we recorded, like, I think we bashed out the first 10 in a row or something.
yeah,
And that was like, it was a lot of effort. We were like losing the will to live by the end of
yeah.
it. And like Hacksaw Duggan became French because I accidentally pronounced him as Dugan.
Yeah. Oh,
And I was
oui.
that pure French patriot.
Yeah. The true inspiration behind La Resistance.
La Resistance.
La Resistance.
La Resistance
Oh
flag
no,
was made
I
up of
have.
Hacksaw's old piece of wood.
Oh no, I have Chateau myself.
Yeah.
WrestleMania.
Oh man, I'm so hyped for WrestleMania. I mean, I can't tell you who in enough words how much I'm looking forward to this year's Mania. And
No, it's
there's,
there's a lot again, there's a lot of people moaning.
I know, and I don't get it.
I
I
think we're
don't,
just in that generation where people bitch. I think that's what it is, right?
yeah,
I think we could be given the most perfect build and most perfect match card, and
yeah,
people are still gonna find a way to bitch and moan about it.
yeah,
So just listen to us. We're positive about wrestling, unless it is
yeah.
full dog shit, and then we will tell you.
Unless it's
Um,
fucking AEW, in which
ah,
case we get lots of hate in our comment sections because, yeah,
it's
we
yeah,
are very negative.
yeah.
You know, the
Um,
funny thing is, I actually listened to an episode of Rennie Paquette's podcast with John Moxley recently because someone threw it my way. And John Moxley on the podcast, it's from a while ago, refers to AEW as the most childish and unprofessional place he's worked at. He's like, oh yeah, I did 8 years on the Indies, did 8 years at WWE, been doing bits and bobs with Japan, and I've never had this sort of this sort of atmosphere
his
here.
his
It's
contract
like
must be fat to withstand that.
yeah, yeah. But yeah,
But
so their own champion is,
yeah,
is saying that.
but
Oh,
WrestleMania night one. If you didn't tune into the previous episode where we did the Hall of Fame and NXT, the
yep,
Prediction League is back. We are doing it for a
yep,
full calendar year. Every NXT takeover,
yep,
every pay-per-view, winner at the end after next year's Mania
yep.
will get a prize. However, we've done our predictions for NXT Stand and Deliver. You can
Oh,
go.
I've had an idea for the prize. I will message it
Um,
you.
Cunnilingus. Um, and he smiled. I was right. Yeah, we've
Mm.
done that.
Sniff, sniff.
uh, Funnily enough, my wife takes my boxers off and calls it a scratch and sniff, so it is that.
Very
Now,
good.
if yeah, yeah, if we've done the predictions for NXT Stand and Deliver, if you're not listening to the Mega Rep, then you can go back and find that. It's towards the end if you just want to hear those, but they're in
Yep,
there. At the Mania post show, whatever we're gonna call that review, whatever you want to call it, we'll
yep,
go through the predictions of who's in the lead at that point. But we will be doing predictions as we go along, talking about these matches. So I'm going to go off the Wikipedia match card. Obviously, we
yep.
don't know the actual order of the matches, so this is just what
And
Wikipedia has.
yes,
There
I've got a
will be
lot to say about the
bonus.
first match.
There will be bonuses for little things, but we'll get to that when I mention that. So,
Yeah.
match one: the Ring General Gunther defends the World Heavyweight Championship against main event Jey Uso Yeet. Um, this honestly flip a coin
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
it wouldn't be the first time that the big underdog story doesn't pay off.
Yeah. Look at Edge versus Roman, Bryan versus Roman, Bryan versus Orton. Like, and
Yeah,
yeah,
Rhea versus
yeah,
Charlotte,
yeah.
Shinsuke
Um,
versus AJ.
Triple H at WrestleMania 2000 retained he was the first. I think he was the first heel to retain the world championship in the main event of WrestleMania.
Yes.
So The Rock won the Rumble, and The Rock won the Rumble and didn't win the title at Mania. Can you imagine that? That's yeah. So it could easily have, it could easily be a thing of Gunther winning. I want to see Jay win though.
Jay is my pick straight off the
Yeah,
bat.
I know we are very similar in our wrestling taste, so I know there's going to be things that we both agree on. Um,
But if anything, that's
I'm
what's going to make this league so tight.
I know. I think the NXT is going to be the thing that swings it for this whole WrestleMania weekend card
Oh yeah,
because like
I'm so
because we've
competitive.
picked
I'm
different
about to
ones on
become the
most.
biggest NXT mark ever. I'm gonna be dirt sheeting NXT. I'll be calling up
Just to make
Sean.
sure that I lose.
Yeah, yeah. Be calling
But
up Sean.
yeah,
Listen, there's a host, right? He's chosen this winner. I don't think that's
he's
best for
also a
business.
massive Bret Hart fan over
Yeah,
Sean. Just
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah. I don't
Say
think
that
that's
to him.
best for business. You know, I think
Even though I will say my two favorite wrestlers of all time are Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels.
I feel like that's not
That's
allowed.
that.
I feel like that's not allowed. I feel
I
like
know
that's
that, but
nah.
that's why I loved them.
I feel like
Right?
that's like saying my favorite football teams are Man U and Man City. Like
Yeah, I
it's
know that
not
is it.
allowed.
But right, okay. Go back for anything we've said on previous things when I've talked about how I've got into wrestling and Royal Rumble '93, Survivor Series '96. The first podcast you did with the very first one when we talked about what shows we enjoyed. I mentioned Survivor Series '96 on there, which had Bret Hart versus Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels as the WWF champion, losing that title to Psycho Sid in the main event and in his boyhood dream being crushed and everything. And the show that got me into wrestling properly as well was Royal Rumble '93, which had Bret Hart as champ and Shawn Michaels as IC champ. I grew up in the era of those two being the best, and you could tell they were the best. And obviously, then there was the screw job and all that. But I was so hyped when Shawn came back in 2002. That was amazing for me. And so, yeah, I'm a fan of both. I can be a fan of both. Uh, so there. It shouldn't be allowed, but there's worse things that are allowed now in politics. So yeah, but yeah, I'm going for Jay on this. I saw a very interesting like fan theory, which I can't see happening, but I thought was quite
I
funny.
saw the same thing. I think I know
The
what
one
you're gonna
about The
say.
Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they saying, "Oh yeah, well, Rock is 20 steps ahead. Jay was number 20. Blah 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 blah."
I mean,
Jacob
I like the idea based on how the Rumble finished, where Cena essentially jumped off the apron.
jumps. Yeah, yeah, and you
That
could
would tie in.
and yeah, but I want Jay as Jay at the moment.
Yeah.
I think
At least give us how Jay is at the moment until like Raw. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Let him
yeah,
like
yeah,
win at Mania and have the whole crowd geeting as he wins it. Let him have the big face
yeah.
moment before the turn.
And I
Um,
don't think there's any reason to turn him heel because this whole thing of him breaking away from the bloodline, the whole story of Jey, the whole narrative of Jey Uso as a wrestler going into WrestleMania 41, his entire career relies on him being a super over babyface for the next year or two, which will happen. I think. I think he can't turn heel. I don't think fans would accept it. I don't think it would work anymore for him because look how flat Jimmy's heel turn was when he went back to the bloodline after turning on Jay. No one cared. Then last year's WrestleMania, everyone loved Jay going into it, and but that match is the one that people weren't bothered about because
yeah,
like, Jimmy's losing. Jay has got himself to that level where he's absolutely a superstar. And I
yeah,
know they call all the wrestlers superstars, but if you were actually using the definition of superstar, Jey Uso is a proper top tier main event superstar at the moment, and him winning the world title, I think, should happen absolutely for him.
yeah, 100%.
And and on the flip side, like you said, we could flip a coin. Gunther is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Like Gunther keeping the belt, perfect. Gunther could absolutely have a lengthy world title reign. So I would be happy with either result, but I think Jey Uso.
me too. Um, the War Raiders defend the World Tag Team titles against the New Day. I'm going to say off the bat, I think the New Day win this via new member.
Yeah,
I don't know.
or
I don't know who that member
they
is.
lose it via Big E interference.
Yeah, that was going to be my other one, but I think
I
they're
want to see
big.
New Day win.
I think they're booed so much at this point that
Yeah.
it's too early to have a comeuppance. I think you need to give them the tag titles so that they can, do the bragging, adding the titles on top of what they're already doing, and then the team that comes up and beats them, which I would have be Fraxium.
Yeah.
Um, they get that big, we beat the heels, everything's right in the world moment.
Or they become proper shit scraping heels, as in like no one gets to win a match clean against them. They don't even win matches clean. They do the thing like they did on Raw, where they just fucking threw the match out. They do all stuff like that to keep the title all the way till next year's Mania, where the Usos win the titles off them.
That would be
And you
incredible.
get New Day Usos because of their history together, and you give them the Mania moment.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Who are you picking?
Sorry. I'm also picking New Day. I like the War Raiders, and I've known, I've sort of like years and years and years and years ago, before they were in WWE, Hanson and Rowe were both on my Facebook friends list, and I spoke to them both, and Dijak, and Keith Lee. Keith Lee we had on a podcast years ago before he was big, and he put us in touch with Dijak, who then we got an interview with, who but then because we'd interviewed Keith Lee and Donovan Dijak, as he was called at the time, I think he's called that again now. They
He
put us in touch with
is.
Shane Taylor, who was Keith Lee's tag partner in ROH at the time. Shane Taylor, we did a few interviews with over the years, and then he put us in touch. They all sort of vouched for us with the War Raiders. So I have both of them on my friends list, and we've got interviews lined up with both of them, and they both got signed to WWE before we could do it. And
Bastards.
Dijak, we had a written interview, and we've got a podcast planned with him. He got signed too, and do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
one of those, but not you can't be bitter about that sort of thing, because
Not at all.
that's amazing that you're like, oh man. And obviously, we were going to chat to him because they're so fucking good, and they were doing really good stuff prior to WWE. So seeing them have a WrestleMania match is heartwarming for me. Do
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? It's one of those
Yeah,
things where
yeah,
I just feel good for him. And you're just like that's so great. I'm chuffed that they get this Mania match, knowing, like, having conversations with him and chatting to him from way back when. I mean, they probably won't. I mean, I can't even say probably. They absolutely won't remember me like from them, because I was just literally someone messaging them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But but yeah, no, I'm very happy that they're getting this against the New Day of all teams, because New Day were viewed as one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
yeah.
So, but
Right,
I think New
matches.
Day are winning.
Yeah.
But I've just got to quickly say, I had a brain fart while you were talking about the way, like, the new member and all that, and I said Big E costing him. What if that's combined and Big E heel turns?
I don't think Big E will heel turn unless he can wrestle.
Or, well, that's what I mean. What if Big E's
And
ready
but
to wrestle, and instead of going against him, he does this thing of,
three in
you
and
guys
nothing
were
in
right, and knocks them
95.
out. Yeah, you guys were right, and knocks
Yeah,
out like Hanson or Rowe or whatever.
yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah,
Right, Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. I'm gonna just put it out there. Rey's gonna win. He's gonna unmatch El Grande Americano. Finally,
yeah,
stop all this online bullshit about who is it? Unmasks him. Obviously, oh my god,
Vince
who's
McMahon.
surprised? It's Omos.
Yeah, fucking. But can you imagine the trolling if Chad Gable comes out as the manager of El Grande Americano and brings Omos out in that uniform?
Yeah,
Can you imagine if they did something like just something completely over the top like that? That would be amazing.
that would
They
be
went,
great.
and Sean and Hunter would be backstage pissing
Oh,
themselves
absolutely. Yeah.
like that.
Are
Just
you
like, yeah, put the
going?
mask on Omos.
Are you going Ray as well?
Yeah. I'd like to see Chad Gable get a WrestleMania moment.
Me too, but I want it to be
But
as Chad Gable.
yeah, so this has got to be his comeuppance, and then next
Yeah.
year is his moment.
Do you know what? The next two, I think we don't really need to delve into because I think we're gonna have the same answers
Okay.
here.
We've
Jade,
got the same
Jade,
match for fucking every match, I
literally,
think,
Jade
apart from
Car-
maybe the main event.
Jade Cargill
But,
versus Naomi
uh, well, I'd like to see Naomi win, but logically, Jay Cargill has to win.
is 100% Jade. Yeah,
Yeah. like
Yeah,
from a storytelling thing. It's
yeah, yeah. I
it's
think,
not
to
a
be
story that
honest,
I think needs
I
to
don't.
continue.
No, I don't think this is going to be the big face Jade Cargill. I think this is going to be the start of the,
Ass kicking Jay Cargill.
yeah, put you want to label a Hayes feel or in between, whatever. She's just
Yeah,
going to dominate and eventually take a title. Basically, I think is what's going
yeah,
to
yeah.
happen.
Oh, she goes. Bianca wins the world title, and Jade goes after her for not doing anything in this build up.
Possibly, or we get Jade as the mid card women's title, mid card
Yeah.
champion, and then she drops the title out of boredom because she's beating everyone and goes for the main at some point.
I'd like
Next
to point
match,
out because you're saying about mid card women's championship. At time of recording, SmackDown hasn't happened yet, and I think there's potentially three more matches to go on to Mania that'll come out of SmackDown. I
yeah.
think we'll get Chelsea Green
Do you know what?
versus Zelina Vega again at
I
Mania.
this right. This is a thing. I know they're doing the battle royal on SmackDown.
Yeah,
I think they should just don't do those matches and just let them have a pre-show.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah,
just you've got 2 nights. Stick 2 matches on the pre-show. They
yeah.
don't have to be super long matches, but stick 2 matches on each pre-show.
Battle Royal every evening,
Yeah,
on both evenings. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Fine. Crowd love it.
Literally a battle
You
royal
know,
each evening, and then you can have like the mid card women's titles on each one if so then they're on Mania.
yeah. I didn't even know that. Do you know what? I didn't know that they'd announced the Battle Royals for SmackDown this year.
I don't think they have, but I think for the
It's
past
just
two or three
assumed.
years,
Yeah, yeah. Because the last, yeah.
WrestleMania SmackDown. I know.
But yeah. I think
Uh,
Selena and Chelsea's going to be added to the to Mania. And I also really hope that the SmackDown tag titles get added to Mania
Me too.
because of shenanigans between the Machine Guns and Street Profits. Because Street Profits won at last year's Mania.
well,
I think them not having a match this year is while
yeah.
they're champions is disappointing.
Well, what we're gonna do at the end of the Mania is we're gonna put some what if points in there.
Yeah, because there's also the Orton thing because that's got to
Yes,
happen.
exactly. So we're gonna put some what if points in there. Now, if we were to say, for example, the Guns are gonna win the SmackDown tag titles, if that happens on SmackDown, it's not a point. It has to take place at
At
Mania.
Mania. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because our predictions are only going based on PLEs
The only one
and
I think
takeovers.
I might add is the Andre the Giant Battle Royal because the winners of that have been so rogue
Yeah,
over the past few years. I genuinely, it is like they just pick a name out of a hat to win it that year.
yeah, yeah. Fuck
Yeah,
it, let's do the battle royal winners then. Let's throw that out. Who do you
I
think will
don't.
win them?
I will do that at the end because
Okay, okay,
we
best.
could just add them as bonus points.
Okay.
LA Knight defends the US title against Jacob Fatu. I'm going for Jacob Fatu. I think he's
I-
going to destroy LA Knight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Next match.
Hell, do you know what? Like, yeah, yeah.
Like, where we're like, yeah, yeah, you then, yeah, I'm going to be on the NXT dirt sheets and calling Sean because it's going to be so close.
Yeah,
Just agreed on everything.
these are
Yeah,
these two
what
for
a lazy predictions we've got for me.
the last two on this list for night one are probably gonna be where we differ, purely because
Okay.
I refuse to say one person, and then the other one is
Yeah, I know, and
always
I'll say
roll
that
up the
person. Yeah,
dice. Yeah. So
but
Tiffany Stratton
okay.
versus Charlotte Flair. I think I think Charlotte's gonna win because
Yeah,
Charlotte, but
I think Charlotte's winning, but I want Tiffy to win.
I'm saying Tiffany because I'm not
Yeah,
allowing.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think Charlotte's going to win, but I want Tiffy. So
Yep.
that's my prediction. Yeah,
I can't
both say
allow
Tiffy. Yeah,
to choose a mannequin to win.
yeah, we'll go for Tiffy.
Are you going Tiffy as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not. Look, I will happily like cheat to win in certain things, but I'm not winning by picking Charlotte Flair.
Okay, I respect that. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk with Paul Heyman versus Seth freaking Rollins. I have gone for Seth Rollins via Paul Heyman.
You're gonna hate this. I agree.
You cunt.
I think out of the three of them, Seth's the one who needs to win,
Yeah, and I think
and
having
Seth's the one who's the CM Punk's very well defined at the moment. Roman Reigns is very well defined. Seth has been doing all his, I'm a visionary, blah, 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 blah. but he's not really doing anything, and he's not really been doing anything for years, other than coming out in weird outfits. And
Just
but he's
being there.
over. The crowd love him. He's had the world championship and everything, but he's still. And when he was the world champion, he was still in the background. No one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Seth should be at the same level as those two. And the thing is, right, and you could. Oh man, I'm sure you've probably thought these exact same things, right? When you look at anyone that Heyman's been involved with, they've been multiple time world champions that have been at the point where you don't care about them.
Yes.
Big Show, right? Big Show got reinvented straight away.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle was Kurt Angle's always been like top tier and everything, and always been, Kurt Angle's phenomenal. But when Paul Heyman turned on Big Show for Kurt Angle hadn't held the title all year.
Yeah.
That was like a whole like title picture free year for Kurt Angle, and it put him back in the spotlight and reinvented him for a while. Then we got that amazing WrestleMania 19 main event. We got the heel general manager run, and it's just been world title after world title since then in the two companies that he was at. So Heyman, so Angle was already a multiple time champion, but that Heyman turn was a pivot for him in his career because it showed that he could be a dangerous heel.
Yes.
And it made him, because before he'd only been a goofy heel.
Yeah.
But the Heyman stuff made him a dangerous heel. So there's that. There's Brock Lesnar in general. Like Brock Lesnar, when he came back, was great, but adding Heyman made him next level again, because there was the return aura of Brock Lesnar for a while, and it's Brock Lesnar, he's just going to destroy stuff. Then they put Heyman with him next level again, even though he was already next level at that point. It was like the Heyman thing of being able to come out on Raw and SmackDown or wherever Lesnar was feuding with, and build the feud without Lesnar being there. Heyman made Brock Lesnar more than the one trick attraction that he'd been at that point. It was like the thing of, no, now you know that if Paul's coming out and getting in your business, you need to watch your tone, because otherwise Brock's going to take you to Suplex City in a few months. Do you know what I mean? You get all that, and Heyman's just like worked wonders for everyone. Roman Reigns is a clear example of a next level change. When Roman was already the big dog, he'd already had main events at Mania, he'd already had multiple world titles, and he was at that point where fans weren't really bothered. They were like, "Oh, it's Roman, we'll watch his match," but we're not that fussed. Pairing with Paul Heyman, you get Wreck Everyone and Leaves and the Tribal Chief Bloodline. All of this is because Heyman and Reigns were paired together. Punk, again, perfect example. Punk was the WWE champion in a time when he was frustrated because he was on the lower cards. John Laurinaitis versus John Cena main evented a pay-per-view while face CM Punk was WWE champ.
Yeah.
On the Raw 1000, I think it was Raw 1000. I know it was a special episode of Raw that year when The Rock came back and all that lot and announced he was going to go after the champion at whoever that was at the Rumble. And this was before SummerSlam. It was Cena versus Punk in the main event. You got the Punk turn, and then he left with Paul Heyman at the end of the show. He got into a car with Paul Heyman.
Yep.
And then you've gone from CM Punk, the face that says the stuff that people don't necessarily think is going to be said, and everything, to being one of the best heels in the business at that point and having this historic title reign because he's aligned with Heyman. And that, Punk was already a really good level, but the Heyman part of his run is what people remember.
Yeah.
Because and that's one of the things that used to piss Punk off anyway. Not about Heyman, but about the thing of, oh, he's WWE champ going into WrestleMania. He's got third match on the show against Jericho.
Yeah.
Punk and Jericho could have absolutely headlined, but they didn't. He's the WWE champ going against Daniel Bryan at the next pay-per-view, but it's John Cena versus Big Show in a cage or whatever in the main event, or a last man standing match between Cena and Big Show or JBL, or more of the John Cena John Laurinaitis feud was the main event spot while Punk was WWE champion until Paul Heyman took over. Paul Heyman got involved, and then you got Punk main eventing from that point onwards. And so my prediction is Paul Heyman aligns with Seth Rollins, and because Seth Rollins, and the justification is that Seth Rollins spoke truths on Raw about when Paul got put through the table by the Samoans, where the fuck was Roman?
Yeah.
Punk, you can forgive storyline wise because Punk wasn't there on that
Yeah.
show. He's not a SmackDown guy. When he was on Smack for the one time that he was there on SmackDown, and he was at Paul Heyman's side. To be fair,
Yeah.
yeah, do you know what I mean? So Punk gets the pass in that on that one. But Roman didn't bring Paul back. Paul and Punk came to help Roman at
Yeah.
Survivor Series, and Roman's forgetting that in this build and stuff. So Seth Rollins with Paul Heyman is my prediction. I think logically storyline Heyman leaving Reigns makes sense. Heyman and Punk. I mean, he doesn't even need to screw Punk as such. He could screw Roman and help Seth win, and then still walk off with Seth.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Seth. I'm going to Seth. We've picked the same pick for every fucking match.
Let's see if night two is any different. Night two kicks off. Io Sky defends the women's world title against Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. Who are you choosing to walk out of that?
I want Io to walk out of that, so I'm going to say Io. I think Rhea is probably. I think the reason Rhea's lost the title is so that she can win at Mania.
Yeah.
I don't think Bianca needs it. I think Jade Cargill might beat the shit out of Bianca in the middle of this match because it's on a separate night. I think Jade might come out and get her. Do you know what I mean? Because of the Naomi storyline. And then you've got something for them both to do after Mania that has nothing to do with the title. But I want to see Sky keep the belt. That's what I want to see.
I want to
So,
see Sky keep the belt, but I just can't see them not choosing Rhea Ripley.
yeah.
I think, but then I
I
could
don't
see
want Sky to second reign to be a transitional champion. I
no,
don't.
Rhea's
And
reign was transitional, so it's like,
well, yeah, I know, but Rhea's had the decent
do you know
reigns
what?
as
I'm
well.
gonna just guess. I'm gonna say Bianca.
You watch neither of us be right now, and
I'm
we
gonna
still get the same score for Mania.
I'm gonna say Bianca purely because she's the only one out of these three who hasn't hot potato this title.
Yeah. Okay.
So that yeah. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Bailey and Lyra. I feel like this is probably going to be an easy, quick prediction.
Yeah, Liv and Raquel are just going to keep the belts, aren't they? Because
Yeah,
no need to put them on Bailey and Lyra.
I would
I think,
have.
if anything, it sets up miscommunicate. There'll be miscommunication between Bailey and Lyra, and then you've got your Intercontinental title feud going into the next pay per view. Go on, done.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't be surprised. Liv and Raquel win this, and then the winner of the NXT tag number
Takes
contender.
it like we were on about. Yeah,
Yeah,
come
exactly.
up for Raw the following night. Yeah,
AJ Styles versus Logan Paul.
I want AJ to win. I know it's going to be Logan.
I am 100% the same, but again, I'm not going to say Logan for the same reason. I'm not
No,
going to
I'm
say
picking AJ. I want AJ. That's the thing. It's not. I know there's who we think will win, but it's what we want to win.
yeah,
Who we want to win.
yeah.
That's how we're calling it. So
Right.
yeah,
Bron
AJ.
Breakker defends the Intercontinental title against Penta
Dirty
and
Dom,
Finn
man.
Balor. 100%. Here's what I'm going to say. Dominic Mysterio, one of two ways, right? Either,
I've got a prediction too. One of
either,
us is going to say the other one's thing.
yeah, either Dom beats Pins Finn, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Or
Absolutely.
say if Finn hits a coup de grace on Penta,
Yeah,
Dom grabs Finn and throws him out. And
that would be
then on,
beautiful.
on Raw, you've got Finn being like, what, I'm the leader of the Judgment Day. What are you doing?
Oh, potato.
Yeah. And then you'll get Dom being like, you're not the leader. Lights go
Man,
out.
if I,
Alistair Black. Alistair
yeah,
Black is the new leader of the Judgment Day. Is how I
yeah,
would do it.
yeah,
I think Dirty Dom has to win this. I think this could be the title reign that Dirty Dom has, where he
yeah.
does, like you suggested with the New
We
Day,
we were
he does.
talking about the shit eating heel run that we were saying we wanted Dom to have for the world title. We were on about that last year.
Yeah,
I think he has that with the Intercontinental.
yeah, me too. Both saying Dirty Dom.
Yep, how I was thinking it'll go, which just because I think we're going to see Bron spear Finn in two, but it'll be like Finn will be completely knackered from the spear. It'll be just be down and dead. Penta, Mexican Destroyer. Dom kicks Penta out of the way, pins Finn.
Yes.
Just something like that, where
Yeah.
it's like, and then Dom's, because of the shit eating heel thing, his justification to Finn on Raw is like, well, so one of us had to get the title, and do you know what I mean? They worked together up until that point, so it's not quite a betrayal, but it's enough for Finn to snap,
Yeah.
and yeah. But your ways also sound great. So, but basically, Dom pins Finn.
Yeah. Match
Yeah,
5, Sin City Street Fight, Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre. I'm gonna go with Drew.
yeah, Drew's got to win. Drew's
Yeah.
got to win at Mania. I think even though Drew's the heel and Priest is the face, Priest has been consistently costing Drew shit for a year. Like, he cost him the world title at Mania last year, took it off him. There's the times when Drew's had the opportunities and Punk's cost him and all that sort of stuff. But then there was the Royal Rumble, Priest took him out. The Elimination Chamber, Priest took him
Yeah.
out. Priest is 3-0 to Drew in these things. Drew needs to win. And the thing is with Drew, and this is still one of those things that I think is really funny. He's moaned like fuck for the last year about his thing, but he's probably had the best career year out of everyone. Like that, from Mania to Mania. Yeah, and like I'd say even above Cody, because
Yeah.
Cody's had a phenomenal year, because he's just been consistently champ from Mania to Mania, which doesn't happen normally, other than Roman. So, you know, kudos to him. Like that's an amazing feat. But Drew, since last year's Mania, he won the world title. He had what's gone down as one of the biggest feuds of the year against Punk. He had the match of the year in the Hell in the Cell, which probably the best Hell in the Cell match ever. I mean, like Michaels Taker and Taker Mankind and Triple H Mankind, well, Triple H Cactus are all up there. If you were doing top five, those three matches, maybe Sean Hunter when they did the Hell in a Cell, which was really good, and this one.
Yeah.
And that's ignoring anything off a Hell in a Cell pay per view. This is literally they basically made you go, you forget that it was a gimmicked match for years that didn't mean anything, and made you remember that it was the feud ending match, the match that could define a career, and that match was so frigging brutal, all and stuff. But yeah, so Drew had that. He also won one of the biggest matches of SummerSlam
Yeah.
because he beat CM Punk with Seth as the referee. He won the Money in the Bank. Do you know what I mean? He won the Elimination Chamber like prior to Mania as well and stuff. But Drew's had a really good career year, and
Yeah.
but
I
and
think
it's like
yeah. I think top
anyone
of the
else does one of those things, and it's a huge year for them.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah. So both saying Drew.
yeah.
Main event, the last match of Mania,
I
Cody
forgot to that
Rhodes.
already. Wow.
Cody Rhodes versus a heel John Cena. I
We both
cannot
want Cena to
I
win.
can't not pick Cena, man.
I
John
know.
Cena finally breaking
I
that
know.
record and doing so as a heel is
Yes,
something that
yes.
just has to happen.
And validates the heel turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he turns heel to not win, why? Do you know what was the point of him turning heel to begin with? He needs to win.
Yeah.
This is, and like I know people have said about the comparisons to Hogan and Austin. Yeah, it's the top guy of the whole face of a generation turning heel and reinventing himself later in the career. Fine. You know what I mean? Austin, when he turned heel, he only had a couple of years left as a full timer,
Yeah.
and he wasn't there for one of those years because that's when he fucked off. But like Hogan had that whole WCW run and everything as a heel for he had a good 6 years after that point. I know this is seen as last year, but Cena turning heel means that he can do the ultimate dick move at the end of the year, and if he's still champion, he can go, "I don't fucking mean it. See you on Raw." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a heel now. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to like. He doesn't have to go with what he said.
Yeah.
He's a heel. He can go back on his word easily. He's
Absolutely.
not doing shit for the fans anymore, and that the way that they've done it, yeah, no, this year's for me. Basically, what he's been saying, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
for me now. I'm winning that title. You don't deserve me, so I'm winning that title and I'm taking it home.
Right.
Great.
Absolutely. So you're saying Cena too, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Now, the 3 bonus points on the line. are the SmackDown tag titles. Who will win
Mhm.
that if this is what we're recording before SmackDown? If
Yeah,
that gets moved to a multi-man at Mania, we then have Randy's mystery opponent if he was to have one,
yeah,
and we're going to do the Andre Battle Royal.
yeah.
So if the SmackDown tag titles gets moved to Mania, if it's, let's say it can be up to a 4 multi-man, because I can see it being Guns, Profits, DIY, Pretty Deadly,
Yeah,
or at least Guns, DIY, Profits.
yeah.
Which of those 4, I think I my head says if it is those 4, it's going to be Pretty Deadly for an amazing out of
For
nowhere moment. But
like they did with Theory and Waller last year.
yeah, but I am going to say it's the Guns.
Guns. Yeah, agreed.
Well, these bonus points are going well.
Not it's all hinges on
If
the battle royal.
if Randy has a mystery opponent,
Come on, we're both going to say Magnus.
I'm not, for the sake of difference.
But you want
I
Magnus.
want Magnus, but I'm so
Magnus.
tempted to say Rusev. But then it would also hurt Rusev to
Oh.
come back and lose to Orton.
Because Magnus could have. I want Nick Aldis to have his WrestleMania moment.
Do you know what I'm saying?
That
Yeah, it's got to be Aldis, isn't it? It's
yeah.
all
So
coming
I
down to
want
the battle
Aldis versus
royal.
Orton just to give him that
Aldis,
Mania moment
right?
to say it's every wrestling fan's dream,
Yeah,
regardless of where they work, to wrestle at WrestleMania. Give Aldis the match.
right. All comes down to the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I am going to say we get to wrap this up quickly, so let's quick fire this. I am saying Karrion Cross.
Yeah.
You fucking prick. Oops.
There we go.
What was the
Doesn't
point of the
matter who
bonus
wins anyway.
points?
no,
It all
I'm going to
comes
pick someone.
down. No,
I'm going to
it's
pick
fine.
someone different for you.
No,
So
no,
you
no, no,
you.
no. Sorry about that, folks. Zoom had other ideas. So let's just to go over it. SmackDown tag titles, multi-man if moved to Mania, we've both got Moxie Machine Guns. Randy's potential opponent, if he has one at Mania, we've both said Aldis, and we've both said Cross for the Battle Royal.
The only difference I could see is because you mentioned the name as well. I could see Rusev winning the Battle Royal, which he's done
I
before, hasn't he?
think so, yeah, but I just don't think you're returning the
No,
SmackDown
I think
before.
that'd be a bit of a
So
dodgy return.
what it comes down to for this
We're going to do a
is
Raw after Mania prediction now.
no,
Oh, okay.
no.
What it comes
The
down to is stand and deliver. We're going to know before Mania starts who's won this predictions battle.
just for Mania, it's the women's triple threat that
Oh
is
yeah.
different. That's it. For Mania itself, it's the women's triple threat that separates
You
that.
picked Bianca, I picked Io, and we both know it's more
Fuck
than
it,
likely going to be
Rhea.
Rhea.
Yeah. So yeah, we've gone for different answers on stand and deliver
Yeah.
for everything except 2 matches. So
One thing that I've just realised we really glossed over because I just was like, yeah, no, no, I agree. Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight.
yeah,
I do think that has the potential to be an absolute show stealer of a match.
it does, but I think that it's gonna. I think
Fatu's
it's
got to
gonna.
win it.
I think Fatu's gonna win it, and I think it could be a. I don't know.
I think it's the way that we get Fatu versus Solo at the next PLE.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's where it's got to go. And
Yeah,
then I wouldn't be surprised if that's when Hikuleo shows up.
yeah.
Um,
As the replacement for Fatu for the bloodline, yeah, and I could
yeah,
see
I
LA Knight
don't know.
moving up the card.
No, because I could see the Tongans going with Jacob,
Yeah.
and then maybe Solo brings in like Hikuleo and maybe Lance Noai, or
Yeah.
Hikuleo and Zilla Fatu.
What about Sim Snooker? We haven't seen him for a while.
That's probably a reason for that.
And what's the other
Um,
one? Manu Bomb. Bring them all in,
oh,
man. Just go
yeah,
full
man.
bloodline.
Add an extra show, and it's just a Noai Wrestling Federation.
Or Jacob Fatu becomes so unruly that Solo Sikoa has to go back to Roman,
Yes.
cap in hand. Look,
Yeah.
I acknowledge you, my tribal chief. Please help. I made a mistake.
Jim Cornette joins Roman as the new Heyman guy.
I accidentally did a Whitey Cornette voice then. Is that where that
Yeah.
came from?
Oh,
I
so
love Cornette, to be fair. Like, I do think he's great.
there we go,
Like,
folks. We have We've made our predictions. We have stand and deliver is going to determine so much.
It really is. It
Do you
is.
know what the worst
I,
part is though?
I
St-
think that I
a
think
lot
that's
of
going to
stand,
be.
a lot of stand and deliver are multi-man matches, so there's still chances we get barely any points.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen throughout the entire year of this predictions league that we're going with, I think it's still going to come down to this first stand and deliver, the stand and deliver. I think this is going to be the one that swings it for the whole year. I think because the thing is, and this is one of the things that works so well. We have completely different tastes about many things, but we're both very like in tune with each other's fandom on wrestling. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's why we get on so well. Like if I mentioned AEW, we both like yeah. If I mentioned TNA, we both like yeah, it's all right. Like
Yeah,
that. And if we mentioned classic TNA from like 2006 here, we're both like yeah, okay, we can talk about that for hours.
absolutely.
So I think our whole tastes and stuff for wrestling is very very much in line with each other. So I think it's all going to come down to stand and deliver.
I could, but I mean, look, WWE, the whole thing is anything can happen to WWE. That has never been more true than the current era we're in.
Yep.
Hell froze over. People jumped ship that we never thought would.
Yep.
It's a crazy time to be a wrestling fan, and I'm very intrigued to see where we are standing at WrestleMania 42 in this league.
You know what one thing that we could talk about just in general. I know we're at the end of our Mania thing, but I think we peppered in conversation about the Raw and SmackDown after Mania. One thing that I would absolutely love, and I'm just saying if Cena wins the title, opens Raw with the championship, opening promo, blah blah blah. Cody's not here because he's a SmackDown guy anyway. So there's the justification for Cody not being on Raw because he's not a Raw superstar. Cena's out there because he's already advertised for the Raw after Mania anyway. Cena's out there, opening segment, got the title over his shoulders, and we get our first surprise of the night because Cena says to the crowd something along the lines of, "I told you this was going to happen. All you guys had to do was believe." Bam! TNA champ. Joe Hendry comes out because he's been trying to like backstage at the Rumble. He was saying he wanted the Cena thing to Cena, and Cena said was talking to it. Do you know what I mean? They had a whole conversation on backstage at the Royal Rumble about doing something together,
Yeah,
and Cena was like, "Yeah, if you work hard, if you force it, it'll happen," and all this sort of stuff. That's what Hendry said. Cena said to him. So I'm not plucking this out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
Hendry is in the area for WrestleMania weekend. He's advertised at shows or signings or something during the day.
yeah. He did a
And
breakfast Q&A with the Hardys yesterday.
yeah, yes, and the TNA pay per view because normally the TNA do their things on WrestleMania weekend as well. They did it on Thursday, so there's plenty of time for for any surprises to happen by way of the TNA WWE agreement, and they absolutely could do that. Can you imagine how insane that would be for the opening segment of the Raw after Mania? Cena's there and the TNA champs there as well. That would be great.
That would be incredible.
And they might even give us a match that evening. We might get the match there and then on the Raw after Mania, which is still fine because it's a dream match and it can be a one and done evening because the guy's from another company. But
Yeah,
that would be incredible.
that would be incredible.
I really want to see that happen now. I've like talked myself into it. Like, yes, come on. But is there anyone else like in terms of injury returns? Is there anyone you can think of that would be a shock coming back from an injury on Raw or SmackDown after Mania?
Draws.
Sorry, it cut out.
Draws.
That would be a shock.
That would be a shock, yeah. Um, I don't really, because the thing is, like, is this Kevin Owens thing? Are they really, really working us? I genuinely, all joking aside, I don't believe they are.
It's awful, isn't it? Because it's one of those things where like
It would
I
be such
don't
a
want it to
Kevin
be a
Owens thing
work
to
because of
do.
how they've done it, but I also don't want the poor bastard to have 2 years out with a neck
Yeah, of
injury. You
course.
know what I mean? So it's like, how do you view that? Sami Zayn, not after
Oh
Rainier
yeah.
return, because
That,
unless he wins the battle royal,
oh yeah. I
we
forgot he was a
forgot
thing.
about him. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, hey, he doesn't have a
Sammy's
match,
son.
does he?
No, Jimmy Uso.
Jimmy Uso could win it.
Yeah, Jimmy Uso could come back on Raw and we have the Usos versus Gunther and Kaiser
Oh
or something.
fuck! And
But
it's the predictions are written. We can't change it, right?
yeah,
I'm gonna say a secondary pick here. It doesn't get me a point if it happens. But just to say that I've said it, yeah.
yeah.
If Cross isn't winning it, I very much wouldn't be surprised to see Ludwig Kaiser win the 100 Giant Battle Royal.
Fuck.
See, see,
Yeah,
yeah. Or Andrade,
yeah.
or Ray Fenix.
Fucking dirty Santos Escobar.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah, Ray Phoenix. We not even
Yeah,
talked about him at Mania. Yeah, yeah.
uh, yeah. It's
Oh, imagine. And that's why the feud for SmackDown after Mania, the Guns retain. The Guns win the titles on SmackDown, but Street Profits say they want them rematch at Mania, and we get that multi-man match anyway. The Guns keep the belts, or lose the belts and regain them, or whatever. But we end up with the Lucha Bros versus Motor City Machine Guns in WWE.
Jesus.
That's just like
That would be crazy.
ah.
Right. Let's wrap this up because otherwise we're just gonna sit
Oh yeah,
here
yeah.
fantasy booking.
Pontificating. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that have apparently signed to WWE that haven't made their returns yet, like Alistair Black, like you said, and he could
I think
appear on
that's
Judgment Day. I think that's a good
I
shout.
think that's what's gonna happen. I think he needs to be he comes in the leader of the Judgment Day. He can kick Carlito out immediately.
Yeah,
I think he probably kicks Liv and Raquel out.
yeah. I've
I
just
think
thought of something else as well. Sorry, carry on. Yeah, it keeps with it.
I think Dom then has a couple of weeks of you need to make this choice.
Yeah,
You're either with us or you're with her, sort of thing. And
yeah.
eventually he'll choose Judgment Day.
hmm
Um, Probably brings in
Buddy Murphy if his contract's up.
Buddy Murphy, someone like Buddy Murphy if his contract is up. But I think in WWE, I wouldn't be surprised to see him bring in a couple of people that are already there.
hmm
Because I think that could be a good. You remember how when Edge built it, he got Priest eventually,
Yeah,
like first, and then Rhea appeared later. I
yeah,
think you get that with Alistair if Dom
yeah, yeah,
leaves. If Dom leaves, then he's doing that with the slow build like Edge did. But if Dom stays, he you can have a few weeks of Alistair maybe saying that he's in contact.
yeah,
There's an ally coming, and you know, like the cryptic standard Alistair Black
yeah,
kind of stuff, and then you know the reveal of oh it's whoever. But I think if someone like Alistair Black takes over the Judgment Day, he's got to kick Carlito in the head
yeah,
because Carlito is very much a comedy character in the Judgment Day,
yeah,
and I feel like that's not what Alistair Black would have.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Dom stayed. Alistair Black brought in Nakamura.
Yeah, depending on what Nakamura's doing, because apparently the reason he dropped the title was that he's asked for leave, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's
So it depends, but they could bring him in later in the year.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said,
So
that's
you're
a
right. Yeah, I
condition.
think that could absolutely happen. Nakamura would be a fit, a really good fit. Um,
Um, Rusev, I think, will turn up on SmackDown.
I think Rusev like what's just occurred to me. Can you remember when LA Knight won the title after Logan Paul, and then he started doing the open challenges again on SmackDown? That's when you got like Santos and Andrade getting shots at the US title over the last year. He
Yeah,
does an open challenge on SmackDown because he successfully retained Rusev.
I don't think he'll return. I
No, but
think
if he retains, I think that's the way that they bring
no,
Rusev.
I think you have LA Knight come out and cut a promo after losing. He can be, you know, he can
And
be
he could just call out anyone. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
not even maybe call out, but he could just be running his mouth. He's pissed off. Maybe he's got a sling on, or you know, he's like torso's wrapped, like something.
yeah.
maybe he's got that, that really obscure, this actually helps
The one that
nothing
Batista had.
they've got like the bandage strap
The one
and
that
then
everyone
across
owned
their
the
tits.
one Batista figure with it on.
Yeah, like that kind of random thing. He could have
Yeah,
that on, and then he could just be, bitching and moaning. He could be like, I I put the US title on the next level. No one's done what I've done with the US title. Rusev Butria, Rusev Machka.
or Aiden English comes out first.
No, I don't want Rusev there.
I know you don't want it, but you can see it happening.
No, I can't. No Vincent there. I think we get
We get
Vince. We get
proper classic Rusev. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we get classic Rusev with Lana.
yeah,
I think not slag Lana, but
yeah.
like
Proper Lana. Yeah,
proper Lana, and I think we get an incredible run there because then you could have Sheamus. He's been gone a bit. You could have him. Oh, maybe Sheamus comes back on SmackDown.
yeah. Oh,
Open
Sheamus could
challenges
win the Battle Royal.
if he's
Shit.
back. Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
you could have Sheamus come back on SmackDown and do the whole "I'm back. I've not got a match. I want to fight because I'm this year's Finley."
and
And
Rusev.
then Rusev comes out.
Yeah,
You could have Sheamus been like, "Oh my God, League of Nations, fella," and then he's kicked in the head.
yeah, yeah. Agreed.
Um, there's so much that they could do. I'm just really excited for the next 7 days of wrestling.
Yeah. You know, one thing that we've completely forgotten about, which was announced last year, and everyone's forgotten about, but I could see this kicking off on the night after Mania. Gunther comes out, has lost the world title to Jay, comes out pissy, blah 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 blah, and asks and says, "As I've spent all night trying to think of what's next for me now that I've lost the world title." You know what I mean?
And it's
Got
his
because
son,
yeah,
Jack, that's been
yeah.
roided up for a year. Put your fucking hands on me now, dickhead.
Yes,
Just
but
fucking comes out bench pressing a Harley.
they announced that they've announced Goldberg's getting his retirement match in WWE this year. They just haven't said when. So Gunther
Gotta be,
Goldberg, it makes the most sense.
oh my God. If Backlash is the first show they do of the year,
Yeah,
that would be perfect for Goldberg because that was
because it
his
was his
first
first
pay-per-view.
WWE. Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
would work. That would work.
And that's your big post Mania match that people aren't expecting. Although they might do if they've listened to us. But chances of people sitting through 3 hours of us nattering to this point. At this point, we're just doing these for us.
Yeah, this is just our like wrestling catch up.
But yeah, I could absolutely see them building Goldberg Gunther from the night after Mania because then it gives a reason to not do Jay Gunther again straight away. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
I think if Jay overcome one of the things that used to piss me off with certain booking at Mania was when your champion, you'd have a championship change hands in the main event, and then the next two shows were the same matches and
yeah,
went the same way. Like Batista Triple H, if Triple H had took the title off Batista straight away and then dropped it to Batista in that Hell in a Cell match that they had, then there's that. And you've got your logic for the matches to go on that. But Triple H just getting the rematches without winning
yeah.
them, I'd sort of lost interest by the time that they had their final match. And the same with JBL and Cena. I wasn't bothered. Once Cena won the title at Mania, and they especially when they went, okay, here's the new title.
Yeah,
Oh, but he's defending it against JBL for the next two shows or whatever. You know,
yeah,
JBL's not winning that new belt that's just come out.
yeah.
So I'm hoping that when Jay wins against Gunther, they give Gunther something else to not go after Jay, but they don't forget about Gunther and Jay's issues because Gunther and Jay is one of the occasions where I would like to see that carry on
Yeah.
based on how the build's been. So I'd like Jay, and I see, we were saying that you could flip a coin because Gunther should be world champ, should have a lengthy reign. I could see Gunther being the one to take the title off Jay
Yeah.
or Bron Breakker because of their how they've had the Intercontinental run in as well. Bron Breakker could take the title off Jay,
Yeah.
but I think Jay gets a random placeholder feud so that he's got the world title for at least 2 months, and
True.
then could be Jay versus Drew.
I'm just trying to think of people who could have that placeholder feud and not be hurt by not winning it.
Solo?
I don't think anyone really believes he's up there, to be
No,
honest.
no, but because of the whole bloodline the bloodline thing, Solo and
Yeah.
everyone could start going after him.
Look, we could get
Roman.
like
Roman might go for he might just go, you know what? You came at me for my title, I'm coming at you for yours. And we get a Roman J program. And Jay actually wins.
I could see like a Ludwig Kaiser,
I could see a Kaiser match happening, yeah.
like
Well,
a one pay-per-view feud sort of
yeah.
thing, like 3 or 4 week build. Have Ludwig win like a number one contender match or a battle royal or something, and then that's what kicks off that for
Or
a little bit.
or if they do Seth Heyman, we get Seth versus Jay.
The thing with that though is
Seth would win. Yeah.
I think Seth has to win because you can't like
No, because Roman could help Jay. And we get Seth Roman feuding throughout the
Seth
year.
Roman.
And that could be the big SummerSlam match, non-title SummerSlam match could be Seth
Oh, I
versus
just
Roman.
thought Roman's never pinned Seth. So is that what the payoff's gonna be at this fucking at their triple threat? Roman finally gets to pin Seth.
Could be. It's going to be good though, isn't it? That's the thing. That's the thing about wrestling right now. It's so fucking good.
Yeah,
Well, WWE and like
yeah.
and TNA, to be fair, has been on like a resurgence for the last year or so.
Luke's done great things with his wrestling figures.
Pardon?
Basically, Luke's been doing great things with his wrestling figures.
Yeah.
So basically, anywhere but AW.
Yeah. I mean,
if you're 3 hours in and you've still listened to the slander,
then we're getting to the waffle now. Like, yeah. I mean, the things you said about Lucas, one of the things that's happened recently that I'm incredibly proud of is that Ruben's now my eldest son Ruben is 12 and he's just started wrestling training again. Which I took him to some things years ago and everything, but now he's got to, and he's really good. Like he's just immediately taken to it, which of course he has because he spent years watching it with me, playing video games where he's seeing how moves are happening. He spent years playing with his when he used to play with his figures, he wasn't just going mash.
Together,
It was a right arms are hooked down the go. You know he was doing all that.
Yeah.
That's why he prefers the elite figures to the basics because
got the bend.
Yeah. So and he hates the AEW figures because they don't move as fluidly. Some of them are all wobbly, but it's like, you've got to really crank their arms to get them working. And he doesn't like that with his toys, so that's what he's been like for years. And yeah, seeing him going to train has been awesome. And the guy training him, Paul Malin, Paul Malin's someone who's been on the British wrestling scene for years. Really, really fantastic wrestler, really good trainer and stuff. I've had run-ins with him many times. They go quite a way back with him by default, just from being in similar places at the same time. I've done Hope shows where he was there, Slam Wrestling, and a few other bits and pieces. And I've been to these Aspire shows because it's Aspire Wrestling Alliance that he's now running the training from, and they've now been going for 9 years as well. But that's really good wrestling to see live as well. So that's the point. There's lots of good wrestling out there in all ways, shapes, and forms. Apart from AEW. that was my convoluted point. In fact, NWA's been on a tear as well. To be fair,
I watched NWA when they first brought it out, so that's when they had they had LA Knight at that point.
And Jane Storm as main ones, and Aldis.
In there. They had Aldis, Trevor Murdoch. I know Trevor Murdoch's still there, but I
know, but him winning the NWA title was a nice surprise. Yeah,
Tim Storm was there at that point. That's sort of like when it first came onto the YouTube thing, and it felt really fresh. And now I don't know. I haven't watched it in a while, so I can't say what it is now. But I stopped watching at the time because it started to feel more carny than anything.
Yeah. The last 6 months, it's been like. I mean, they've had. At the moment, the current champs, Tom Latimer, the former Bram.
Yeah, Bram. Yeah.
Who got a reference on SmackDown when Tiffy was calling out Charlotte for all the divorces.
Fixing my DMs.
But I'm glad that that Bram's doing something somewhere positive, and him as a world champion. It was talent wise, he was absolutely a main event level talent,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, there's loads of rumors and allegations. We can't speak of any of those sorts of things, but I know they've hindered his career in other places like NXT and TNA
Yeah.
because of incidents. But he's genuinely a phenomenal worker, and he's from like midway between where me and you live.
Yeah,
He's from
yeah.
friggin' Chesterfield,
Yeah,
which is
man.
bizarre. I like that. And fun fact: years ago, I was in talks with a guy at Chesterfield, probably 15 years ago, when before my back went, because so more than 15 years ago. And I was going to go and do stuff at Chesterfield wrestling wise before I actually got into wrestling myself, because this was
Yeah.
again before my back went. My back went, for the benefit of the listeners, my back went when I was about 21, and I had a good few years where I had like limited mobility and stuff. So when I got into wrestling, I was a lot older, because it was after that it all healed up. But the initial time that I was going to do it, I was going to go to Chesterfield, and it would have been at the time when Bram would have been training there. So just missed him because
Yeah.
my back went out. So yeah, anyway, I digress.
He's a
But
strong boy. I think he'd have probably made your back go again, to be honest.
probably
Yeah.
just got snap.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been Bram and EC3 have been the top guys for the last year, I think, in NWA. But EC3's another one where it's nice to see him at that level in somewhere, because he was great as TNA champion. I
Yeah.
think what hurt him was leaving TNA and to pick WWE, and then WWE. Obviously, it massively hurt him when Vince went, "Yeah, no, he's not going to speak," and that was silly. Because he was one of TNA's best talkers, like that. You know what I mean? It's like they went, "Yeah." TNA built him all the way up to that level, and then he went into WWE with his TNA name of EC3, and then they just like got into the main roster and joke, and that hurt his credibility. And I think his control the narrative stuff that he was doing looked like it was going to be really good, but it was like sort of the wrong
No.
time,
Yeah.
and because it was. He ended up in TNA during the pandemic, and you got the Moose versus EC3 thing for the old belt, which was great. But obviously, Moose kept it because EC3 was only there short term. And then he spent a good few years trying to build up his own wrestling promotion, which was the Control Your Narrative thing, or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I think Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt, Karrion Kross were all going to be involved at one point or another, and every time they were going to be involved, Papa Hunter rang them up.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh man,
Have you
EC3 just
seen?
not can't catch a break with this.
I saw this, and I've never really spent a lot of time watching this product, so I'm not going to pretend to know it all. But MLW, their current champ is Matt Riddle, right?
Oh yeah.
I
I've
saw,
never really watched that NLW, to
yeah,
be fair.
he had a match against another former WWE guy, but then Dijak showed up, and then
Oh
fucking
yeah,
Baron Corbin showed up.
yeah. All of a sudden, I want to watch MLW
Yeah,
from
yeah,
that being said, yeah.
yeah. I love
Freaking
Corbin, honestly.
the Raisin Frog would be like would have told us all about this months ago if he was still
Oh
involved.
yeah, Hammerstone returned as well.
Oh yeah.
He chose MLW over anywhere else,
Yeah.
which fair enough. Each to their own.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're waffling, so let's
We are
wrap.
waffling lots.
We are. We are. We've probably hit
Thank
about
you for
three
staying
hours.
with us this long and
Yeah,
padding
but
our potential YouTube viewing hours that we need in order to get
yeah, man.
monetized. So,
Yeah,
just
man.
stick this on for 3 hours.
Happy
We'd
days.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. Just mute it. It's fine.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah.
you can
Put
leave
it
it
on
playing
loop.
on one screen, open X Hamster on the other, or whatever. Just do what you want.
Yeah.
Just mute us, but leave
That's
it
what I've
playing
done
for
this
3 hours.
entire pod. Um,
Nice.
yeah.
But your X Hamster was muted, so as to not
Yeah,
confuse
yeah.
things.
Exactly. Always mute your hamsters, man. Otherwise, they ask for help.
You could
But
tell
it's
it's
been,
getting to like the point where we've been talking for too long
yeah,
because
absolutely.
it just evolves.
Yeah. But thank you all for joining us for a the start of what will be a full wrestling calendar year of this shit. I will make fucking sure of that. We will be back after Mania, maybe
Yeah.
like Monday evening if we can to
Yeah. I think that the previous schedule that I was doing for podcast that we were doing for podcasts was dropping them on Thursdays. But so I think we should probably try and get them. We should obviously WrestleMania is a different like schedule anyway. But I think if we try and aim for a set release date, I think at least fortnightly for our podcast going forward.
I
More
think
than likely
yeah,
every week
yeah.
if we
Well,
if we get more. But yeah,
we'll figure it out, but we will be back because we'll need to go through the results, talk about
definitely.
Mania, go
So
through
that will just throw
the
out whatever day we're saying for a podcast will be completely
yeah.
different because of
Um,
Mania.
yeah. We could we could maybe try and record on like a Sunday
Good, Sundays are good,
because then I'm thinking we can review the full week of WWE
and
and
we
what's
can
gone on
preview if there's
there,
anything
and we
on the
can
Sunday night.
preview the pay-per-view that's there.
Although most times they've been doing the PLEs on a Saturday, which has been
Which
brilliant as well. So if we're doing
yeah,
Sundays, we'll record
yeah,
Sundays and drop the podcast on a Monday. There we go.
yeah, yeah. And if there's a pay-per-view, we can the Saturday before the show we can do a prediction thing and get that quickly out there.
And let's not forget that this year's WrestleMania falls on Bank Holiday weekend for us in the UK. So
Of course.
Monday's actually quite clear for me at the moment. I've got no solid plans. We could do this Monday morning.
Wonderful.
Indeed.
Wonderful. Right. Thank you all for joining. I've been Connor. That has been my Pookie Bear, Rory, whichever side it is. I don't know if you guys are watching the video, but this now it's kind of like
I don't even know if I was going to release it as video. Normally, we just do it as audio.
I don't know. I just kind of did that, and I just kind of felt like Hitler at a rave. But yes,
Or a
thank you all
more
for listening.
low key Titus O'Neil.
Um, but we will catch you all on Monday when we talk about this brilliant weekend of wrestling.
Indeed.
Enjoy Mania, people.